Okay, we're good to go live. Good to go.
Okay, so can we call the meeting to order?
About time, man.
Yeah, go ahead, Adam.
Hey.
All right, I call this meeting to order on September, 19th, 2020. And the first order of business is the passing of the gavel to Chuck. So I just want to say that I had a great time being our president. Even though we had our ups and downs, I think we made a lot of accomplishments, and I'm really proud of the work that we did. And I'm excited to see where we go with Chuck. So from here on out, congratulations, Chuck. You are the new president of Mites.
Oh, thanks, Adam. All right, so next is going to be opening prayer from Pete. So take your hats off.
Well, Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day you've given us. We thank that you watched over those who have made it here, Lord, and those who are online. We ask that you watch over those who have to travel back, Lord, and just give us wisdom throughout this meeting and lead us where we should be headed, Lord. And in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
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 All right, next order is Pledge of Allegiance. So we have a flag here. If you guys find your closest one where you're at.
Put it in front of the screen too.
Good.
You can see it on mine.
Okay. All right, if you don't, you got one on Yasmin's.
Right.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America,
and to the republic for which it stands,
one
nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right.
Aren't we going to do the Black National Anthem? Oh, God. Nobody's not gonna do it. Oh, yeah, we're good then.
All right.
Don't put that in the minutes. Don't you put that in the minutes.
All right. Next is going to be Yasmin with roll call in minutes.
I wrote down roll call for all attendants that I see. I will try and get the minutes, and the minutes for those that are here should be in your hands. I didn't do it digitally.
Okay. Is there a way we can share the minutes on our which meter on the side? Is that possible? Maybe do a link in our discussion.
No, wrong one.
That's one way you do. You can share your screen while we're going through it to see too.
Is it Dave?
Yasmin, can I share the link you sent me?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah.
I have a lot of tabs up.
Yeah.
I got it.
Because he's running the.
All right. All right. So while they're doing that, I'll start off with the next one. First report is President's report. As president, we my bad. We have to approve those minutes. We approve the minutes from last meeting.
That's the agenda. Maybe I shared the wrong thing. Hold on.
Can we come back to that? So if we're gonna post them, people will have a chance to look them over.
Does that sound fair? We want to come back to that?
Yeah, we can do that.
All right, we're going to come back to approving our last meeting's minutes from March of this past year. It's been a while since we all been together. Right now, so we'll move forward into President's report. As president, I don't have a whole lot to talk about, and I think Adam is going to talk about some of it with the competition. I want to start off. A few weeks ago, we had a executive board meeting to decide about our constitution. Since we didn't have enough people to create a quorum this past May, when we actually did the online voting, we decided that as a group we can't push forward with that since we didn't have enough to make a quorum. It did pass with the votes that we had. but there wasn't enough to make a quorum. So we're actually going to table our constitutional update until this competition in May at our May meeting. Hopefully we can have that in person so we can make sure to get it to pass. We can kind of move forward with our ideas in the direction we're going. Let's see, also with our budget, since we're kind of up in the air on our competition, those two kind of go together. And like I said, I kind of hope Adam covers this a little bit. Our competition, we also decided as an executive board to kind of hold off on making any super final decisions with our competition until we see what happens this school year. As far as regionals, as far as state, I know right now we're slated to be in Lansing, but with a low number and with all the questions with schooling, we're not sure that that is the best idea. If we choose to go with the Lansing Center, it could literally drive us broke. So I believe Adam's looking at a couple different places. I know we talked about OCC, and I have to talk to him about possibly a couple other places, if that's a possibility. So for right now, our budget, we're kind of holding off on that as well until we get a little bit more better grip on where we're going as a place so we can better know our budget. Because the Lansing Center is expensive to host. So that's kind of where we're at as a group. And as my report, I submit that to be approved from the group.
I'll second, Dennis.
Somebody have to first it?
I'll first it then.
Okay. All right.
You first it. I'll second it. Fine.
Okay. So it is approved on discussion.
What's the pullout date for Lansing?
That is a question for Adam. What's the pullout date for Lansing, Adam?
We're going to talk about that in the convention report.
Okay. All right. Hey, dumb question. Did we actually sign the contract to have that?
We did.
We did not, or did?
We did.
Okay.
Have we paid anything toward it at this point?
We have not.
Okay.
Wow, cool.
Now, if we pull out, they don't have a deposit. Are they gonna? Do we get charged for it?
All in my report.
Okay. Deal skis. Any other discussion? All right. We have to vote on that or no?
Yes.
No discussion?
Yeah. Now we can
Adam,
vote.
there's a chat question that might be related to your report as well.
I don't know how to see the chat.
Okay.
Oh, yep, I see it.
There is a question in the comment section about chance of automotive competition. We are still hopeful of hosting that and having that this year. The question that we're going to come up with is, once again, if we are at the Lansing Center at OCC, where are we going to host it? I think that's also one of our later agenda items underneath new business, and the fact that we still have to figure out how we're going to host it and where we're going to host it. I know that we have interest from Ferris State University for hosting it, and also OCC for hosting it, but we really need the people to step up, and we'll cover that later in our underneath new business. Okay, do we need, after discussion, do we have to vote on? So approval on discussion.
All in favor?
All in favor on discussion?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, that is approved. And next is President-elect's report, which we don't currently have a President-elect. We are still looking for one. I have a few feelers out to a couple people that are going to be able to fit that. So right now we're still working on finding somebody to be President-elect. So there's no report from there. Secretary's report, yes. All right. There's no report from the secretary. So we're moving on to the treasurer's report. Josh Burkhardt.
Okay, just a recap of a few things. The endowment fund, we right now are currently running at $17,438. Savings account, we have $17,761. And checking account, we have $9,358. PayPal is at 2,175. We've had a few registrations come in at the beginning of this year. Not many, but that might change us depending on what happens with the schools. So we'll have to wait and see. Some of the big ticket items we paid for since the last time we met, we had the journal costs, we had reimbursement for that, running about somewhere around $6,000 that we paid out for the post-convention journal and some additional stamps and postage. And we had ribbons in preparation for the convention. We had $3,935 we paid in ribbons, and then $2,550 fee for M&B graphics. And so those were our big expenses since the last time we met. And obviously things like the ribbons will be used for the next convention. So that'll roll over to an expense we don't have for that time frame. But one of the things I do want to highlight from what Chuck was saying is that if we run short on membership, if we run short on projects this year, we are going to be broke by the time we're done with the convention at the Lansing Center, or down to less than probably $10,000 available in our account. So we are going to have to explore some options of taking cuts, and either, like we were looking at doing before, finding places that aren't as expensive, or finding ways to get more income to make up the difference. And also planning for the different contingencies and the costs thereof as to if we're going to go, are we going to go virtual? Are we going to do a hybrid? Are we going to do all face-to-face? If we do with the all virtual, obviously we're going to be saving a lot of money. Or even something maybe hybrid will be saving some money. But we need to plan for those things. So that's at this point my report, and I submit it for approval.
Second.
All right, so we have it
And we have
now,
some
board
chat
report
questions.
for approval,
We have
right?
some chat questions for discussion,
Okay,
So now it's been seconded, so now we can
discuss.
discuss.
gotcha.
Do we think about at what point in the year we make a decision for May?
Right now, as an executive board, we kind of wanted to kind of go with December-ish. That way we get through most of the first semester and kind of see how things are going. So right now, we're trying to hold off until about December to really make a decision. Obviously, that will also be contingent on our cutoff date for the Lansing Center. So, my question for Josh is, so we've talked about in the past about putting our endowment fund into a CD or something else that can basically increase our wealth. Being a nonprofit, is that legal? Just
Yes.
out of my ignorance.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we're not investing it in anything that it can't be taken out of, and that's the key. And like when we discussed before about CDs, you never lose the value of the CD. So even at the very worst, if we took the money out, it's going to be the same value as what we put in. It's just we would lose any interest as a penalty if we take it out earlier, up to half of the interest, depending on when we do it.
Okay, now how is that different? So Jim has been sending some emails on different investment opportunities. Is that would be the same thing as far as the CD, or are those two different options?
When we're looking at outside of a CD, we're looking at things that are most likely stock driven or some kind of investment style driven, where the CD is a security with the bank. We as the board up to this point have said that we don't want to get any riskier than doing that. So
Okay.
that's one of the things we haven't jumped into, just because of comfort, I would say, and making sure we have available those funds. Because if we do run with something like the convention center this year, and it exceeds our total amount we have plus income, we're going to have to dip into that endowment fund to make up the difference. And that's why we always wanted it to have available there at our fingertips.
All right.
This is Jim. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. The reason I sent that stuff out to you is the one fund in particular, the Contra Fund. I've had that for years, and all it does is go up. Really ever gone down. Started out 10,000, I think it's 141,000. So it's extremely safe. In fact, my kids got into it. I'm doing well. Just leaving it in the bank and a CD doesn't do us squat. Like I demonstrated to you previously at the meeting how much it went up. Since I demonstrated that to you guys, it went up another 40,000.
Now, Jim, over the last 6 months, has your contract fund increased or has it steadied or decreased? Because we've seen a smaller economy.
It's increased.
It still is increasing.
Yeah, I'll take and show it to you again if you like. I sent it out. It just keeps going up. It rarely ever goes down. But I started out at 10,000, I went to 140.
Okay.
I got out of it briefly. Tell me I shouldn't have got out of it. I got out of it last January, 2020. I jumped back in. I went up another $40,000.
Okay.
Since last January.
All right.
So, 2% gain in a year is not too bad.
Okay. That's something we'll have to take in consideration. Do we have some questions?
It's almost failed. I didn't think it was an excellent investment with no extremely little risk involved. I wouldn't even bring it up. Right? It's my personal investment. I know at least one of my kids have invested in it. They're making money. If it wasn't making money, I just keep my mouth shut, which is hard to do.
All right. What's the first question?
Mike Johnson asked, are we registering just as we did last year? And do we have an updated registration form on the website?
Yes, well, yes, and yeah, I mean, that would be in a report, but yeah, we'll save it, but there is no updated registration form.
And then what is required or needed for an automotive competition space? That was the second question.
Adam, you want to field that one?
The question was, what is needed for an automotive space?
Yes.
Correct.
Well, what we need is an actual automotive shop. So whether it's a tech center or a university, they need somewhere where they can actually do live diagnostics of the equipment and cars and those sorts of things. So they need, a facility.
But does all that have to be provided?
What do you mean, Mike?
Well, because we have an automotive shop at the Career Center, but I don't know if it's big enough or if there's all the equipment that's necessary.
Adam, how many spaces for cars do we need for a competition like that?
Oh God, I think there was 8 or 10. I don't think it's as much of a space issue because I think that whatever the space requirements are or accommodations are can be met. It's more of the fact that we need someone to actually take onus of it and make that group go. No one wants to actually do the work in the automotive competition.
That was our big issue
to run it.
Okay.
Yeah, what we need is an automotive teacher to step up and say, just like we do in the construction realm, where Andy basically takes it over and says, this is what we're doing, this is how we do it. He has a team, and Mike provides the location and the registration and those sorts of things.
Okay.
Then we had can the competition go virtual? Is one of his questions. And then also, what kind of space is needed for the building trades and other types of competitions?
Yasmin, that one's been answered.
That
I'm
one?
good with the answer given.
And then, maybe we can run in the investment idea by a financial advisor was another comment from James.
Yeah, Swenson?
Yes.
And I'll be looking into that too for the investment and also the tax liability and the legality of looking outside of CDs. And then I'll report back on that the next meeting.
Okay. Is there any other discussion for Josh's report? All right, all those, in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? All right. Let's see, next would be convention chair report, Adam Carr.
Okay. I've been working with Jeff and Bo, and Bo did have a meeting with his superiors on Wednesday of this week, and they told him that hosting at OCC was a no-go for this year. They did say that they'd be willing to look at it in the spring, but obviously we know that by the time they would reassess it, it's going to be too late for us to make decisions. But realistically, Bo said it's not going to happen this year. On a bright note, I did talk with the Lansing Center, which has been really hard because the Lansing Center and the Radisson are closed and all their workers are furloughed. So it's really difficult to get a hold of anybody. But I finally did talk to the top dog over there, and he said that he'd be willing to let us out of our contract for free. They wouldn't even take our security deposit if we did decide to cancel. However, I haven't been able to get a hold of the hotel, and we also have a contract with the hotel. So they, what the guy at Lansing Center told me was that what the hotel's been doing is saying they'll waive the security deposit if you book for another year. So like if we were to rebook in 2022 or 23, they would just transfer it. He doesn't know if they will keep our security deposit or not with the hotel. So, but at least the Lansing Center will let us out. And he did not put a timetable on that. He said he knows it's a stressful time for schools. So whenever we let him know, basically.
Okay.
Well, we'll be back.
Yep. So we just don't know. They're of that that convention center where the governor hasn't allowed, big convention centers to open yet. That's not, I can't remember what part of the plan that is a reopening, but they're not even in the reopening stage yet. So,
Okay.
yep. As far as other locations, I have not explored other locations because I was just trying to get a hold of OCC and the Lansing Center. I'm open to looking some other places, but I'm not sure where to go, as far as that goes. I know we had talked about LMC as a possible option. Our convention may be so small, we might be able to host it even at like Dakota High School. We have a monster facility. We have two huge gyms. We have a huge walking track. So I think the space would probably be even okay to host it right in our building. And high school might be the option. The thing is, will the high schools allow people to come in with COVID? I don't know. Right now, the answer is no.
He said there's nothing happening in our buildings.
Pretty much ours.
So that's my report.
Second,
Okay, discussion?
what about,
Adam, so I know in the past, you just said when you looked into OCCA, so we did search that option. Let's encourage both you and me to, let's go ahead and look at LMC, let's look at Harris State, and also let's look at the Carpenters Union. I know that we have a Carpenters Union in Wayland that offered it, and
Yes.
if you recall, there was also one in Detroit that offered possibly working something in.
Yeah, that one wasn't going to be available until 20. They're talking about opening that one in 21. So I don't know if that one's going to be open in time. But the one in Wayland's available.
They offered for like 3 years in a row.
Right, so we do still have the Wayland option.
Right.
Carpenters Union. So let's definitely make some phone calls. That Ferris State might still be the same thing as OCC. And hey, we're not doing it, but that is still an option because they offer it to us for free, and so did LMC, and the Carpenters Union.
what is
Okay.
that? What is that?
LMC is Lake Michigan College down in Benton Harbor,
I
Michigan.
think the only thing we gotta do is the hotel.
Right.
I think we should pull out of it.
Postpone to 2022.
For the
Hotel.
hotels.
Right, but we have
Then if it-
before we postpone anything, we would make sure we have a place for it. So let's search out an option. anything about postponing hotel registration and things like that. Dave, what was your question?
My question is, it seems like a lot of the places are we're concerned about the large numbers. What if we just automatically say there's not going to be any kind of public viewing, and that gives us a longer time frame for people to pick up and drop off, and the projects are there just for judging?
How are we going to put that with our membership? Because if we don't let our membership go through and view, I can see us doing not to an open public viewing, but we need to at least have viewing for our because they're paying for their projects to be there. They deserve that right to see what other schools did and things like that. But I would be totally open to closing off to the public.
What if, as part of the registration process this year, we build in a way for people to submit pictures, and we could do some sort of like video gallery where people could look through the projects that way?
My presentation too.
I just wonder, I think, because we fall under, still opened up things like the Lansing Center, we fall in that realm of, so what if she doesn't open it, it doesn't even open up until after this year even,
As much as I hate to say it, I think we should postpone this thing to 2022 because most schools are not in session. I know high school I taught at are not in school. There's no projects being made. So there won't be any projects probably at this next convention. There won't be enough time, especially in the woodworking areas. You know what I mean?
I don't know. I think
that's why I think holding it at a smaller venue might work out for us. Because I agree, if we don't come back for another 2 months, we're not going to have projects in that competition, at least in my building.
We're guaranteed to have a lower number, but I'd be very, very hesitant to say we're not doing it at all, just because that means if we would go 2 years in a row without having any sort of thing out there for people to bring their projects in and things like that. And when we look at our numbers, yeah, we have a lot of numbers over in that Flint, Detroit area where most of those schools are closed, but let's face it, we have 3/4 of another state that are still going at some sort of speed. I'm down there full time. Even in the Grand Rapids area, we're still at least half time open, so we're still doing some projects. And I think that something this year is way better than nothing, because then that would be 2 years of lights down.
that's the other thing.
It could close lights right up.
So
the membership and ask them what they think. Give them some options. Option 3. Right.
Right. We can ask it, but we've been, and I'm not opposed to it, but just be aware that when we ask our membership, number one, we're hitting them with another email that they already get 1,000 of every day, and we struggle with getting people to
donut parties
surveys and things like that. So, I'm for it, but just know in the back of our head.
Letting me walk anywhere, Jay.
I just think it's too early to make that decision. And I think when the board met last month, we had kind of decided that we were going to wait until at least that December time to make the decision if we were going to cancel the convention or not.
The January meeting would be, I think we'll have a good idea then.
Correct.
Yeah. So I don't know that it's worth talking about this because the board kind of already made that decision.
Correct.
We have another comment.
We have one more question online.
Maybe we just say with no event and not a state competition.
But where are you going to put the regional event?
Right.
Where are you going to hold that because schools aren't letting?
Sylveon.
So,
I think that if we were to do something, it would be, to me, I would rather see the opposite. I would rather see us skip a regional and just show up at a state.
that probably worked really good.
I mean, we've discussed for years now, and being that we have a smaller year, this might actually be a time to test that
Better
theory.
hurry up to the donut party before adding all of them.
Yeah. Just do a state competition.
But I think that we should wait until
Like you say, come
December.
January, December, January, you're gonna have a really good feeling about where are we going in the next few months.
Yeah.
You won't have the big projects, but
there may be stuff. I say you work toward the idea of we're definitely doing something. We're not gonna know.
Right.
And then you change your mind later on. If everything's still shut down, it's a moot question anyway.
This is Jim. Whatever we decide, we need to communicate it right after this meeting. You know, we need to get a synopsis of the meeting, send it out to everybody, and some ideas that we're thinking about. Maybe you'll get some feedback, right? But you got to let people know. You got to communicate and keep the organization running.
Correct.
That's the thing. We need that right after something needs to go out that just, hey, we're looking at still holding it. We don't know what it's going to look like, but we're still planning on having a competition. I mean, just basic, something's.
I'll draft minutes, right?
I'll draft up a letter this next week to send out to our membership saying, greeting myself, saying, hey, hi, this is who I am. I'm our president. And also, most importantly, communicating our constitution changes and our outlook on the convention for this year. So I'll draft that up and we'll send it out next week or the following week. I'll get it to Pete or Dave next week and we'll send it out shortly after that.
When are we gonna just wait till January to decide if we're gonna have regionals or not?
Right now, we're gonna plan for everything, and then if in January we're looking at low numbers, we'll switch to whatever our numbers decipher or dictate.
Hey, Chuck, just an FYI.
Yeah.
I'm gonna need some kind of, like, before December, some kind of go or no-go thing to be able to get the competition system up and running.
Okay.
Because we're at kind of a critical point where if Kevin needs any changes, they have to be made very soon if I'm going to have enough time frame to implement them if we go, like, do everything virtual. So probably in the next month, maybe two, we need to kind of get me some concrete information on that. So maybe if you can get Kevin to nail down any changes that he might need for this year, because I've been trying to get hold of him over the summer, and I know he's crazy busy. We all are. But just an FYI there.
What kind of changes do you need answers on?
Just anything that he, like, final changes of what he's going to need to run the competition this year.
Okay.
So that I have my punch list to start working through any of that stuff.
Okay. I'll call Kevin this week and we'll talk about it.
Okay. Yeah. No rush. Just an FYI.
All right. Any other discussion points on Adam's report? Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? All right. We're looking good there. The next is going to be commercial exhibit. Rob Lindsay.
Then I don't know what to say. Everything, what we're gonna have to do. I got the letter all ready to go on the webpage. I sent it to you over the summer, didn't I? Yeah, I sent it to David over the summer. But I have it down as the Lansing Center. So we're gonna have to hold everything off till we find out what our site's gonna be. And I'm not gonna contact vendors until we have a site. Doesn't make any sense to do that yet. Even though I wanted to start this like after this meeting, but it doesn't look like it's gonna be at the Lansing Center, so we're gonna have to put that on hold. And I don't know how many vendors we didn't have many vendors last year. Everybody's pulling out because of the COVID before we even canceled. So I don't know who's gonna sign up yet anyway. You know, it's confusing. I don't know. It's all up in the air. So let's just wait till we have a site and then I'll start getting a letter out to all the vendors. That's my report.
All right. We are through reports.
I'll second it.
Yeah, second. All right, discussion. Well, I would hesitate to wait until January to get our people in there, just because if we wait until January and then try and squeeze it all in 3 months, I'm afraid you might run out of time. If I were you, I would try and line things up with the notion that we are going to have a conference or a convention. And if it changes from the Lansing Center to wherever, then we communicate that later. I'd hate to see you get behind and we lose out on getting those people in there just because
We need the finances.
I mean, even,
Well, why don't we leave the Lansing Center at?
Yep.
And then at a later date, cancel Lansing Center. And then tell the vendors we moved.
Yep,
We moved to wherever we're going.
correct.
Then I can get it going then.
Yep, I think we, like I said, I think we should move forward like we are planning on having a convention. And we can make alterations once we get to January to the final decision.
We're talking a lot of money here. For a nice organization. You're right. Okay.
And I think communicating with the vendors too, that convention centers plan, but they're in the same boat. We don't know what's going to happen, and just tell them if things change, we'll let you know as soon as we know. So you can also make, just give them the heads up that we're planning on it. We just can't say that this is our final decision. Yeah, right at this moment.
Can we potentially ask the vendors to maybe not be competition supporters, but mites overall? So that because this year we're making some changes to how everything is working. And that way they're supporting the whole organization and giving us the funds that we can then use for convention if we're going to do it, but ask them to sponsor us overall. That way they can get info for the website. We can put them in other places that we typically don't. So maybe just shifting that sponsorship from a specific event to the organization overall.
Yeah.
But I think that as those people, as those companies and organizations do that, that's part of the contract that they sign with us. By being there for the convention, they also get that stuff on our website and thing, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and they pretty much do it. The vendors do it for the exposure. They're not really in it to help mites. They're only in it to gain clients. So, that's.
Well, the bottom line is we didn't have the convention last year, and the commercial exhibitors were asking for refunds. So they weren't going to donate to mites. They want to be there on the floor with their product because I actually got emails, when are we getting our refund? And I got them out right away.
Okay. So we did get all refunds instead of just.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. All right. Any other discussion for Ralph? Is there anything online yet?
No.
I did. I just sent them a check back.
Good plan.
Okay.
Hi.
Again?
Hey, Chuck.
Adam?
Would you mind if I did my legislative report? Because my phone might die.
Well, what the heck, Adam?
I'm not charger.
Hey, plug your phone in. You're at the camp. You're sitting on your chair. I bet you got a beer in your hand right now.
Well, first of all, it's a coffee this early. But second of all, the power's not working at my campsite, so I can't plug my phone in.
All right, yeah. We're going to skip ahead, and we're going to hit up Adam's legislative report, and then we'll come back and get back in line with my report on REO.
Okay. I think it's kind of a no-brainer. Our dues are up, which would be another $5,000 to have our legislative rep in Lansing again for the year. But at this point, I just don't think Mites is on stable enough ground to continue having them advocate for us. I think that if things get better in the future for Mites, it's a good thing to have, a lobbyist. But at this point, I just can't justify to the board paying another $5,000 to have our lobbyist.
What's the output? What gain do you have? Realize when you're having them.
The main gain for our lobbyist is that he represents the non-CTE teachers. So he works really hard to create legislation for all the teachers in our organization that are not CTE, basically. So getting some of the credits in there, getting money, those type of things, is what he really benefits us for. CTE doesn't need that so much. But right now, there's nothing happening in Lansing that is benefiting our programs anyways, because all the money for this next budget year is going to be redirected towards COVID relief. So there's not a huge advantage to having him this year.
Well, the way I got money out of the legislature is I talked directly to my representative.
Yeah, but that fell through, just like everything else.
I know, because the governor killed it.
Well, COVID killed it.
The governor killed it first, and then the second time around, COVID killed it.
We're supposed to be discussing this right now.
So anyways, that's my report, Chuck.
All right, all those in favor, I'm sorry, all those approving,
Second.
Motion to approve.
motion to approve.
Mhm.
All right, Rob seconded. Discussion. Adam, is there a way that we can maybe not necessarily cut ties with our person? Maybe get a reduced rate, therefore reducing how much who, lobbies for us.
Right.
Because I hate to just cut the ties completely. Maybe we could say, all right, well, we'll give you this amount and make sure to keep us in the loop. That way we keep the tie with him.
Okay.
So that maybe next year or the following year, whenever we get back there, we can go back to our place where we were.
I can talk to him about it.
So just like I said, I think cutting ties might not be the best thing, but if we can figure out a way to stay in that crease.
Well, the only thing is the board's going to have to decide if you want to pay, because the bill is due in September. And so we have to decide at this meeting whether we want to write that check or not.
Well, based on their output, I wouldn't write it. What they get for us?
Tell them to send us their collections.
So can we put that in new business to discuss how we want to go forward with the lobbyist?
Yep, that's where we'd have to put it.
Okay, let's do that then.
All right. Any other discussion for Adam? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right. Moving back with me, REO chairperson report. We are still on hold. I need to reach out to all of our REOs and basically make sure that we are still set up for regional competition, just like we would be going normal. But like I said, we're with everything up in the air. It's still changing. The change is probably December, January. And that is my report for REO chair. Okay. Report second.
Second.
All right, discussion.
I think the REO is the same as with membership, is just say, we're going forward. We'll let you know if it changes.
Yep.
We need your support. Because if it isn't for the REOs, nothing happens.
Correct. So, and we're actually working on spreading our REO capability. We're going to release a document probably this month to start working on growing our membership. We talked about it in our March meeting. We're just still working on getting that documentation together so that we can share it with our REOs and work on finding members and finding schools and finding programs. Dennis?
Do you have a feeling for, are all of your regions have a representative at this point?
All of our regions do have a representative. We still have some combined groups. And it seems like we talked in March, we had a question about possibly switching regions. And that is something that's going to be brought up during old business because we didn't make a decision on that at our last meeting.
The second thought I had was, as a quick Zoom meeting with them every 2 months, even if it's 20 minutes, you keep them in the loop. Right. Encourage them to come to the regular meetings, even no matter how we hold. I think that's vital.
Mhm.
You know, if we only communicate in March,
Right.
we're gonna get it.
Yep. And I dropped the ball on that this summer with everything with Corona.
Well, you know,
But-
this is the exceptional year. There's
Mhm.
no,
Yeah.
there's no.
But in the
it
past,
ain't anywhere.
when we talked to Kim and to Don, they struggled with getting REOs to even reply
Yeah.
for dates. And even last year was my first year and I struggled with getting
Oh, yeah.
them to reply.
You had too many jobs.
Chuck, we approved that they can switch regions. It was the details that we tabled.
We tabled, we didn't know how we were gonna work that.
But it's by district, not teacher.
By district. Oh, correct. Correct. We did decide it was by district.
But
Right.
we did say that that's possible by district.
Okay.
Each year they have to apply them.
So then when we cover this in old business, we're gonna,
There's the details.
the details of how they're going to apply.
Mhm.
Okay.
So,
All right.
And one of the other comments is that we need a Region 1 representative for RAO.
Is there schools in Region 1?
Well, so
That's the question.
ironically enough, Adam and I, we went to the CTE conference in February, and that was one of the things that we had, I bet you 5 to 10 different people from Region 1 come up and say, oh, what's MITES? What's it about? Do you have some? We were like, well, yeah, sure. We have a great competition. I mean, we left out the part that, no, we don't have any Region 1 members. To me, I think that we need to have, at the bare minimum, we need to have a region around 1 pick up that region and run their contest. Because we're not talking about a lot of people. But at least if we had an option for them to be part of our competition, then we can start to grow that place back. I think that CTE conference that we went to in February was a great option, and that opened some doors for us. But the other option for that would be to dissolve Region 1 into its surrounding regions,
Chuck, real quick.
which might be an option.
I think the regions of like Oakland, Region 7, Wayne, and Macomb, maybe we could, the REOs of that, we could all work together to support Region 1, because I know for historically, for at least 10, 12 years, we haven't had anybody from Region 1.
Right?
I would rather personally see us grow Region 1 than dissolve it. We do have a lot of schools in DPS and the community district there that potentially do what we do, and I think I'd rather see them like bring them in than say we don't want you.
Well, when I say dissolve, I don't mean we're just gonna annex that part of the state. I would say that we would include them into our other regions. And the only reason, and this, I don't know how to put this the best way. When Adam and I went to the state and had our conversation, the vision of MITES from the state is it's a bunch of old white dudes getting together and doing that. And I feel like by having Region 1 be just that region, that doesn't help our situation out with that. I feel like us bringing them into more, basically dividing that region up into more suburbs, we get more cultural diversity, which might help us to basically further that option and that possibility with the state. Because right now the state says, oh, what about Detroit? And we're like, well, we have an option, but they don't sign up for it. Well, it's something that we need to figure out how to get in there. And I agree that those regions around there are a good option, but we have to figure out how to bring those teachers in. Because right now, if we put them all there in that one area and we don't have anybody to take care of it, it doesn't help the way we look. And I don't know a good way to put that.
You know what, Chuck, I got to talk to you about some other stuff. Let me give you some ideas later on.
Sure.
That maybe I can help get that going.
Sure, definitely.
We used to have Carol Baker from Detroit in MITES, and they used to bring a truckload of projects. I mean, I don't think they really had a regional. They just came to the state every year.
Right.
Put stickers on everything.
Well, I mean, if you're the only school in that region,
That's the
there's
thing,
I mean, there's no point.
But we need to find somebody like Carol Baker in Detroit that will get them all involved, all the schools involved, all the industrial education people.
And that's what I meant by
When Carol left,
dissolving it, is dispersing that into our other regions around it, so that, for instance, when we do that document that helps us find those schools and those districts that we don't have currently in our membership, that they'll be able to reach out to those schools and try and get them involved. It's not that I want to annex that part, it's I want to include them, but we don't have anybody to run that. So by splitting that district up, or that region up, into the other 3 surrounding, we would have somebody to reach out and hopefully bring those people in and get them part of our operation.
well, I've got the perfect guy that might be able to round up all the teachers in Detroit. He's not an industrial education teacher, but he does computers in Detroit public schools.
Okay.
And his dad and I are really good friends, and I know that the kids, I'm gonna talk to him
Mm-hmm.
about getting him involved somehow, with his computer projects or whatever, and then drawing the rest of the Detroit kids. So I'll work on that part.
Every little
Hey,
bit.
Rob,
Yeah,
feel free to throw my name out as a contact because I'm not too far from Detroit, and I
okay,
could help support him and help get him up off the ground and whatnot.
okay. Now, he's not an industrial arts teacher, he's not even certified IX, but he's a hard worker, and the school he's working right now, he keeps all the computers running. He keeps everything going. Pretty smart kid.
IT guy.
Yeah, he's an IT guy. But he's better
We
than
can find
because I don't know
we can
any.
find categories to get him in.
Huh?
Oops. We can find categories to get those projects in.
Okay.
All right, any more discussion for our REO chair? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right. Moving on, we have Pat Sire with National Organizations. He is not here, and he did not leave a report, so we'll move on. Rules Committee report. Kevin Bidwell, Marvin,
No
and me.
report.
We don't have any report for that. So moving on to Pete Twerk membership report.
We had, actually, it was kind of interesting last year. We had quite a few coming in before everything happened. We had I had quite a few new people. I think it had maybe upwards of 5 new people. And then we actually had some teachers from 5 years ago actually come back. So it was kind of interesting. As it was going, we were doing really good, and then the breaks went. So I think I had about 78 people.
Okay.
80 people.
78 people now. That puts us, how far down were we? That means we were behind.
Well, yeah, but
I guess
it's
we need to
always,
finish
there's
the
that
report.
spot that we're always, and it seems like,
You don't get them until convention.
yeah, you don't
No.
get them until convention, so
Okay.
it's, but what I do worry about this year is schools paying for it because of it being a convention thing. That's, I don't know, in the back of my head, they may say, oh, no, we're not gonna do that. So that's something I do worry about.
Okay.
The fact they're not gonna pay for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, right, that's the thing, and
It'll come back, it's just at what point?
yeah,
Is it your report?
that's my report.
All right.
Moved.
Seconded.
Second,
Discussion.
Is it worth thinking about, a reduction in membership for this next year, just to get people to pay their membership fees? Just, how about that as a rhetorical question? Just think
Mhm.
about it.
Okay.
If there's no convention, lots of folks probably won't pay. If they get a half price membership, they might. Okay, rhetorical question. Thank you.
One other thing I know, at least with my district, if we say this is for a convention and membership, my district will not pay for it. If we say it's for a PD and membership, they will pay for it because they don't have to directly use our CTE funds.
Yeah, it's weird because everybody's so different on that.
Yeah.
Like mine, I can't put membership in mine and they'll pay for it. But if it has membership, then they won't pay for it. So I have to leave the membership part out.
Well, when I was convention chair, everything I did said professional development on it,
Yes.
everything. I didn't say convention ever.
And
That went away.
I wondered if we should, just say
I think that's a great idea.
professional
I
development.
mean, I never used the word convention at all.
Yeah.
It's all, even in that letter I sent you, it says professional development all the way through it, nothing about convention.
What's the third term? Professional development? What?
Conference.
Conventions.
Cool, that's cool.
Because
Yeah.
we also are planning out a lot of PD stuff to go online, but I think we can talk about that when Michelle joins.
Okay.
I did that because my group wouldn't pay for it either.
Which we have to their
And they
professional
should,
development.
so whatever.
Right. told her
Everyone paid because it was.
11:30, so
But
we'll
they
just
paid the number
wing
of
it, I'll let her know
membership and
when we get
conference
closer.
separate for those. I had to pay the membership, but they paid for the conference.
All right, is there any other discussion for Pete's membership? Is there anything online, Catherine?
There was Steve's question, do we know when we'll be able to get updated registration information for this year?
Yeah, I'll get it
Already
to
answered, he said.
Scared the dog.
you. Yeah.
Sorry.
All right, any other discussion? Okay, let's see, now we vote to approve. Okay, vote for approval, all those in favor?
all right.
All those opposed? Okay, let's see, moving on to the next page, webmaster report, Dave Weeks.
So I'm going to kind of make this brief. We have increased traffic and longer views on the website, Facebook page, and also all of our social media platforms. So we're starting to get a lot of traction there. We also had a couple weeks ago to support like a general membership meeting about how we can support members. And we actually generated some ideas out of that on like video content, and other various content types. We're also looking for some other members to help us start generating that content because there's a lot of need from our membership. But the amount of time and resources I can put into it myself, the two are outweighing each other. So I'm going to look for some more people to help me build that content over the next several months. We also launched the Mites YouTube channel this year to host all of our videos. However, we have, if you look in the report or the minutes there, we have a funky like generic name for when you first start out. We need to hit 100 subscribers so that I can put like youtube.com/mites. So if we can ask all of our members, friends, family, anybody we know to go in the link there, and I'll drop it in the chat. Go to that or search up mites, youtube.mites. That would also help quite a bit to hit that 100 member requirement or 100 subscriber requirement. What else? I am also looking at switching our website hosting platform because the contractor pointed out that we still technically have some stuff loaded from the Florida contractor. So I am trying to make all final cuts that he could potentially have any access to anything we do. So he still does have access to the accounts, and we cannot change that because of how things were originally set up. So I'm going to probably by October, if not a little bit sooner, talk to Josh and Chuck. I'll keep you in the loop of what's going on with that as well. So this is really just kind of, we want him completely out of the picture in any remote chance. And we're also looking at some performance improvements with the new hosting company. So that is my report.
Second.
All right. Discussion on Dave's report. Dave, you started a YouTube channel for Mites. Can you, or did you put a link to that on our homepage?
Yes. I can do that. Truth be told, I was really trying to wait until we got that 100-member list there. Actually, no, you know what? Now that I think about it, it might already be up there. I'm going to look right now. I've been making so many changes, I can't remember everything.
All right.
I did. Yeah, it's up there already. It's at the bottom of the members' resources. And I think anybody can view it. You can also do a search to find it as well.
You said resources or on the main page?
Under the main, like that first menu,
Okay.
is where it's located. But I can throw an article up and stick it up. Oh, and our events calendar started working again. Awesome.
What about sending something out to membership to ask them to join the YouTube channel?
That's a good idea. I'll do that hopefully this weekend.
Right then, I think I would be surprised at how, because I didn't know, I knew about it, but I never seen the link or anything like that, so.
Okay. Yeah, and I already have some of our old videos, and we've had some members already submit some other videos that we're getting up there. We're putting up, I'm going to curate some playlists. I forget Jeff's last name, Jeff W.
So
He's helping me get some content together. And we've got a couple of other members who are currently producing some content for both their classroom, and they're going to release it to Mites and get that out for our YouTube channel as well.
I would usually get probably 50 of my kids to join it. I mean, I don't, honestly, I think it would be fast. Teachers need to encourage their students to join it too. And then, because the more we build, the more people we have, the better off we get from the YouTube end of it.
And I'll make sure to make note of that in my letter next week. We have a YouTube channel. Encourage people to go on our website. The second thing I wanted to ask you was in our executive board meeting, we talked about buying you a computer. Is that something we need to talk about now and get approved, or is that new business, or has it already been done?
I personally would rather not have a Mites laptop, no offense, but I've already got 3 here. I know we had talked about Mites paying part of mine. I decided to not go that route either.
Okay.
I have no problem using this personal equipment for Mites business.
Okay.
Did we get you one 2 years ago when I was? No.
Nope. But I think I don't know if I have to make the formal recommendation now, but I am going to recommend that from here on out, we do not actually buy laptops for new purchases, but rather use Chromebooks because those have made significant advances over the last several years. And with pretty much all of our resources going online, I think we would get a lot more bang for our buck. If somebody needed some kind of specialty equipment, Josh and I could work that out.
I think that should be on a base-by-base basis.
Okay. Because I do think Yasmin also is up for one.
Okay. Is there any other discussion?
I have 6 laptops at home. I don't need.
Yeah, Yasmin says she doesn't need any more.
4 more.
I just.
All right. Is there any more discussion on Dave's report?
1.
Yeah.
Anything online?
No.
All right. Approval for Dave's report.
Aye.
All in favor? All those opposed? All right, we're looking good. Next is publications from Rick Sillick.
He sent one and I forgot to.
Rick's here.
He's on.
He's on.
Yeah. Rick, do you want to give your report?
We can't hear.
Just have to remember to unmute yourself.
Dave, can you unmute him?
Everybody's muted.
Everybody's muted now, except for Josh. He's over there beating like a heart. I can see his.
Crap. He muted himself. I can't unmute him.
There he is.
Okay.
Oh,
There we go.
Too
All right,
many
Rick.
buttons. Just a short report. I'd like to get a journal out, but I need information to be able to do it, so I'm on hold there. The other thing is I did buy a printer, so if we ever get to the point of getting a journal out, I can print a few journals for people who want a printed copy.
Okay.
Submit my report for approval.
Second.
All right, discussion. Rick, when you talk about information, what kind of information do you need, and who do you need that from?
I just think we need to keep the members informed, let them know what's happening, and just who to contact. Just the RAO list, president's letter, things like that.
Okay. I will. Rick, send me an email with all the information you need. I will make sure to get that out to you as soon as possible. Obviously RAO is through me and the president is through me, so just let me know what you need. And then if you need something from somebody else, let me know and I will make sure to hunt them down and haunt them like a ghost. Does that work?
Sure. Just anybody that has anything that should go out to members, get it to me, and we'll just put an online journal out, and it won't cost us anything.
Okay. That works for me.
Rick, this is Josh. If you need anything for that printer to actually print those journals, please let me know and we'll either fund it or reimburse it so that we can get those out to those that want printed ones when we're going digital only.
Yeah, when that occasion arises, I'll talk to you.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay.
Rick, if you need any content that we can pull from the website as well, let me know too.
Okay, sounds good.
All right, is there any other discussion? Yasmin, is there anything online?
Can we put it online?
Since that was great.
That's what we would do.
Yeah, Jim, that's what our goal is. We're gonna put this one online to cut down on printing costs.
Okay, and if you send a memo out to all the troops.
Yep.
If they have anything.
When we post it online, we should send out an email saying, hey, the new journal is being posted online as of blanky blank blank blank.
Great.
Okay. Any other discussion? Dennis?
Well, I was looking through the minutes of the last meeting and it talked about we went to one printed version and 2 online versions. And instead of the 4 that we used to print, we're down to 3 or maybe less. But 2 of the 3 were online versions anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Just for clarification for everybody.
Right.
Yep. And our printed version is the one that comes out, our pre-convention journal, correct? Or is our post?
Or is it post because of the
Post-convention
results?
journal.
Right, results and pictures.
All right.
Well, as far as public relations, it's much nicer to hand out somebody a journal, like for your board members, your principal or legislator, rather than we're online. Go look at our newsletter. If I have something to give to them, it's a lot more meaningful if I give it to a legislator, for example.
Yep, and that's why I went with the post-convention journal.
It has the best information.
Yeah.
Previous pictures.
I wonder, can we put, because my thing has always been, we have applications for awards and things in our pre-convention journal. Is that something we can add to our post-convention journal so that they have that going into the school year, all year long?
And online as well.
All right. What's that?
And online availability.
Yep, I think we should have a tab online for those applications.
Yeah, you too, Rob.
You're up.
Does that sound good, Dave? All right. Any other discussion for Rick? All right. Approval of his, all in favor?
Move to approve.
All right. All those against? Okay, moving on to the next. We have Adam Carr. He already did that one. We're doing public publicity and public relations from Lois. We don't see her online.
Nothing.
And we didn't get a report, so we're going to move on. CTSO is vacant right now. We need to find somebody to We had Dave.
Chuck, I'm on CTSO.
We had Dave and Cliff.
It must, after you print that.
Yeah, mine got an old amendment. So, Dave?
So I have been talking to the MDE, Dana Hughes up there, and they're getting ready to release some new requirements. So I'm trying to gather all that information, and hopefully later this school year, I can also work with Pat to get our national organization stuff squared away, so that hopefully by second semester we can actually start releasing some solid information about how schools can set up CTSO for mites. We will have to get like once we get students like organizations set up, then we can start the process to get it approved by MDE. So it's just kind of figuring out that workflow to get the approval. I think is going to be a little bit this year, but I'm hoping this is the year we can get everything approved.
Is that your report?
That is my report.
All right. Seconded? Anybody for seconding?
Second.
Okay. For those that don't know, Dana Hughes is in the OTT office. She's one of our people at the state that makes everything go around. She doesn't deal with secondary. She deals specifically with CTE, which is where a lot of us get hairy when it comes to mites. So that's a good thing to have Dana on our side. Right now, we're not approved for it as a blanket statement, but a lot of times with a little bit of extra work, we can get approved for CTSO as long as we do other hoop jumping for them. So, and then actually the addition of our live competition is going to help us with that, getting approved for CTSO. Dana Hughes specifically in our meeting said to us, Ab and I, that she would rather see 7 kids on the floor performing tasks than 7,000 projects sitting idling. So us moving towards those live competitions and getting kids involved in leadership is going to help our organization a giant amount.
Who said that?
Dana Hughes through CTE, MCTE.
What positions has she got?
She is not the head of MCTE. She is, I think, one step down from that. She's a pretty important person. And she's actually a very realistic person. I know that statement doesn't sound good, but she is actually very much so for kids in these kind of positions and these kind of classes. Is there any other discussion for Dave and CTSO? Anything online? All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, moving on. We have Industrial Contact Committee, Jim Thielander.
Haven't had much contact at all. Not doing a good job there.
Okay.
I talked to a couple contacts at GM, but I haven't got any money yet. So I'm waiting to, automotive is kind of down at the moment. I've got my son, I have several students I had still employed there. I don't know what level they are, but I'm gonna check into that and see if they can do something again. We got in the past, we got I think over $100,000 from GM. I know I brought home two $25,000 checks and a $40,000 check way back. Nothing recently, but I'm like, it's automotive is coming out of its slump. Maybe it's time to hit them up again.
Mm-hmm.
The same thing with my contact at Ford. That's my report.
Second.
All right. Seconding?
Second.
All right. Discussion.
I'm gonna get active and get cruising on it.
It's good.
Is there anything online for discussion?
No.
All right. Going to approval, all in favor?
Aye.
All those against? All right. Let's see, Mike's endowment, Dennis Herron.
Really no movement in the last year since the convention of 2019. At that time, we started with 17,435. Since then, all we've earned is interest. I haven't heard of any other donations, so I'm assuming we're 17,500, give or take. Have you explored at all CD rates?
Not since we did that, no.
And, you know, right now, the big ones are 0.3. Whoop-de-doo.
Everything's going down.
You know, our endowment committee has evolved over the years of always being the executive board. The 11 or 12 members, plus the chairperson of the endowment committee. And, you know, as that group evolves and changes, the people evolve and change. So, and, you know, we haven't met in a number of years just because, you know, you've got everything else going on. But, you know, that's how it's laid out now. If you have suggestions for how to make up a more active committee, you know, I'm all ears. The only catch is that for those of you that have been around the last 7-10 years, you've heard me annually ask for my replacement. And I guess the only way to do this is for me to step down, so you have to fill the position. So come January meeting, I will step down. That'll be 20 years in that position that I didn't volunteer for in the first place. But that's okay. It's been fun. But I'll be ready to turn over the keys at that time. So, you know, if you thought about it over time and think you could make progress, let our president know, and we'll go from there. When we first started when the proposal was made in 1999 at the convention to establish an endowment committee, it was with the idea that we would have an investment broker help us. But we didn't have any idea what that would cost, and the follow through didn't happen because the guy who was the head of it passed away shortly after. So, you know, if you want to go that route, I would really, you know, how do you pay somebody when you only have 17,000 in investments? But if there's somebody who's community minded, with investment experience from somebody like Edward Jones or one of the others, that would be wonderful. And perhaps we can get them to volunteer for a few years until the fund grows. But it's food for thought on all of that. So as I said, about 17,500 as we stand today. And if you have a desire to write a check, we're always happy to accept it. All right. That concludes my report. I move for its acceptance.
So moved.
Seconding?
Second.
Okay, discussion.
I will actually, because my wife works for a financial thing, and it's actually a former student of mine. So I would, but it's a fraternal, but I'm pretty sure he would even still give us somebody in the office there, because my wife is the office mom and they're all young guys and everything. And I'm pretty sure somebody there would help us. I think.
Jim again. How about we take that 17K and put it in the Fidelity Contra Fund like I was talking to you about? Because you're not doing anything now, and there it's just going to grow. I showed you how it grows for me. If you think about it, it's not going to sit still. It's going to gain money. And we're not counting on that 17K. Put it in there and watch it grow. I'll tell you what, if I lose money, I'll make it up and I'll put it in writing.
Okay, put it in writing, Jim.
Yeah. I think that if that was the goal and the intention to put it into some sort of fund where it's going to grow, then I think that's definitely what we need to do, and we need to do it sooner rather than later.
Well, and the second part of that was not only just take donations from members, but to recruit donations from corporations, and that's going to take somebody who that is their only job. I mean, a member who is willing to, you know, write to the people that have the money to invest. that was not something that I was gung ho about, and I couldn't find anybody to help it. So that's why we've not grown beyond whatever donations we've all personally made.
I feel, Jim mentioned earlier that he's gotten over $100,000 in donations from GM in the past 10, 20 years. I feel like that money should be going towards the endowment, therefore it would also help to increase. So when we get those big donations through Jim, why are those not going into the endowment fund to increase that ledger line?
Because we never had a plan.
Well, and I think a lot of it too was their designation was it went to support the student project rather than endowment. Endowment supports them indirectly.
Correct.
But I think if we're recruiting, you know, maybe we split what we get if that's a possibility. 20% goes here, 50% and so on. But, you know, like I said, that's somebody that requires somebody to lead the charge.
I wonder too how much, I mean, I know it's totally different, but the other organization I belong to, they did usually their annual golf outing brings big money, but that's a lot of companies donate with that. And this year it was actually down, but they still made $18,000. But we need something like that. And I know, you know, something like but I don't know how a golf outing would go. I don't know how.
Probably go.
I'm not sure. It's a lot of work. I know that.
Think about all the people that we have come to the convention, and when we're up in Shannon Creek, that hey, we got 4 golf courses. We're gonna go play some golf at least once a day.
Yeah.
Or that come to our convention and say, I'm busy that convention day because I'm gonna be out playing golf. I bet you'd go over pretty well.
So I don't know. I'll do some more talking with the other organization I belong to that does, but they did. Like this past year, August, we had it. They did rather well. And
shoot,
that was even companies not paying for people.
Even if we raised a couple $1,000 to put in the endowment, that would still be, would still be better than kicking the head.
Yeah.
The other suggestion I got for you guys is, how about if we take and ask people or consider put the mites in their will for 5,000.
Already did.
Yeah, we've already had that discussion, I think, a year or two ago. So we made sure to make that note, and it's in one of our documents that they can put it in their will for the endowment fund.
And
we gotta send a note out to the membership and recommend that and what the structure would be or how to do it, like a how-to 1, 2, 3, how you do that. You know? So make it simple for somebody to do it.
I'm not the person to ask for that because I'm the one that voted that one down. My vote was against it because that sounds morbid.
Dude.
Hey, you gotta vote.
No.
I think
gotta vote.
Yeah, I see James.
Yeah.
He's got a question with talking to a community, but I think the problem is if you couldn't let them handle it because it has to only go to within that community. We need to find an endowment or a foundation that is statewide. We have to stay away from the community area foundations because they only give money out to the areas that they represent.
Here's another one. What about soliciting that from PTSA groups at smaller amounts?
Again, you just need that leader that's gonna send the mail and make the contact.
Yeah.
There's gotta be
And
somebody
they
there.
can't have other jobs. It just
Right.
doesn't work. You know, we can barely do what we got. Somebody motivated needs to step up.
Do which?
All right, is there any other discussion on Dennis's report? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, moving on, construction contest committee, Joe Churches. Joe's not here and he did not leave a report.
Because he's in the UP now.
Yeah, he's up in that Uper.
Probably got better service than you do.
Automotive
at his house.
Automotive Competition Committee, Scott Westenberg. There's a whole slew of people. I I don't think any of them are logged on. They didn't give a report, and I believe that's also something we're gonna talk about in old business, coming up.
Mhm.
All right, appointments. I think we have all of our positions covered right now, except for president-elect, and they're supposed to be the ones that do appointments, so that's not getting done. We are still looking for a president-elect. Like I said, I got my feelers out for a couple different people. Hopefully we can fill that in soon. Dennis?
I apologize for my confusion. I thought we voted, or I thought you guys were swapping spots, you and Adam.
That was if the Constitution.
If the
was
Constitution
approved.
passed. But because we didn't have enough.
Okay, I didn't get the, how come it got to that part. Thank you.
Yep.
All right.
So, yeah.
Do you?
Well,
Okay.
we leave our conversation convention.
If, before we go on to old business, can we jump back and approve the minutes?
Sure.
And then we can continue.
All right, we are gonna go back up to the top, to approve the minutes from our last meeting in March.
So moved. Second.
Okay, discussion? No discussion? Anything online for discussion?
No.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
Oh, no, we're good.
Okay, we're good.
But there was a comment not regarding that about looking for somebody for education chair as well.
Do we have an education chair?
We used to, Vince, yeah,
Mhm.
I heard, yeah, Vince isn't,
He's,
From the Uber?
Exactly.
Yeah.
no.
mm-mm.
Chuck, I was looking for that position just to help me with content creation and getting teacher resources built this year.
Yeah,
So I'm gonna help try and drive that. What would be the process to get somebody approved for that?
you tell me and then we get them approved. We say, okay,
Okay.
They just have to be approved by the board, I believe, right? Appointed by the president.
yeah, well, appointed by the president-elect and approved by the board.
Well, you can have a recruitment note out in the newsletter too, right? Say what you're looking for, what it is, maybe you get somebody. You know, you gotta make the needs known in the membership.
With a brief description reported to them too.
We do have a comment online asking what is the responsibilities of that educational chair.
Yeah, the time commitment, you know, is it hours a year or hours a week or what is it? You know, say, yeah, something.
I think,
Chuck, if I were to write that responsibility, does the overall board need to approve it, or can you approve it?
I think the board does.
I think you probably have guidelines in your handbook of duty.
In theory, we should have that in the guidelines underneath our old constitution and stuff that hasn't been changed yet. So we should have that written out. To get it changed, we need to have it written, and the board needs to approve it so that we can, publicate it. Did I say that right?
Sounds good.
Sounds good enough.
Publicate,
Publicate,
sounds good.
Mhm.
publicize, publicate.
I will publicate.
As long as you're not doing something else in public, we'll be all right.
yeah,
Mhm.
What is that position called?
Education chair.
Okay, I don't see it on the duties
Yeah,
of standing committee.
I think it was just
Probably
something
one
that
that
got
needs to
put
be
in there
Fleshed
because
out.
Vince kind of started it. And just what he had was information, like if you sent him something like a lesson plan or something, then he would allow you access into it, but he never got anything. People, I don't know why, people just don't send stuff out. So that, and basically that's what it is. I mean, it's just coming on. He had a lot of good stuff on there for like if you had a sub, you know, there was a lot of activities you could do.
So, Dave, if you have a specific thing that you want to look for that, write up a description of it. Check with the old blue book that we have and kind of get that together, and then we can actually put it and approve it. Sound good?
You know what? If I throw that together right now, can we approve that under new business maybe?
In the board meeting, you can do that.
All right. Yes.
I'll work on that real quick.
Do you have a question on the web, maybe like substitute teacher ideas for when somebody's absent, and, you know?
Yeah, that's what this was. That was the educational chair.
Yep, we're working on revising a bunch of that old stuff that was around and resurrecting it.
Okay. I'm retired. I'll help you do anything you want. Anytime.
Pap said he would help too.
All right. Do we have any discussion from online yet? Or no?
That's good.
No.
Okay. All right. What was that under? That was underneath the report, wasn't it? Yeah, that was underneath the approval for last report.
Yep.
It was under appointment,
Yeah.
actually. I
It
think.
was under appointments. We just moved that out of order. But
Yeah.
Okay.
We're fine.
All right. So we need to approve it or no?
it's not a report.
It's not really a report,
It's
so
not.
we don't need to approve it.
We just need to find somebody.
Right.
Well, so do you have a feeling for, besides President-elect, and there was one other we've mentioned of other appointments that need to be filled or positions that need to be filled?
That CTSO was filled. It just, I didn't have it on my,
Okay.
because I printed it a little early, but
I guess the endowment chairperson would be a future appointment.
Yeah, which we have that now.
What's that? It won't be needed, but constitution, well, it might be still. Constitution revision, chair is leaving in January too. Just so you know. Yeah, like I say, it isn't gonna change until it changes force, so.
Now, are these positions underneath the Constitution or are they underneath the,
Well, they'll be listed also in the duties and responsibilities of committee chairs, so it identifies the committees. I think that's where all of the committees are broken down,
but that's not something that we need to get approved by?
But it's done at a board meeting.
Okay,
Rather than a constitutional vote, it's done at a board meeting.
which I think we got all those approved except for the Constitution.
Well, we haven't taken on the handbook of duties. That's, we revised the Constitution, approved or not. We revised the bylaws, voted on at a board of directors meeting.
Right.
The last section of the blue book is the duties of and responsibilities of committee chairs and standing committees.
Correct.
Which kind of tells us how we do our job.
Right.
It's missing the last 15 years worth of new positions we've created. The previous positions we had are listed, they need updates.
But didn't we go through that part and update it?
No.
When we were at Dakota, we talked about it.
We revised the makeup of our committee, when we changed the awards names, when we changed different committees, we identified what committees it currently is made up of. But what those committee jobs is listed in the handbook of duties.
Okay.
That's the one that's next to be revised.
So we need to
And
start that
updated.
executive board meeting and get that revised.
Well, you need that committee to make the suggested revisions, and the committee is really made up of everybody that's got a position, They should look at their own position and update it.
Okay.
Yeah, who else is gonna know except the people doing the job?
Correct. Okay.
But again, that takes somebody, a clearinghouse, you need to identify the person that does that. And everybody, like the secretary needs to update the handbook of duties for being secretary, and the treasurer, and the webmaster, which we probably don't list, and all of those positions that are still part of the constitutional layout need to be updated. And then, routinely updated as years go by. Right, it's called Handbook of Duties and Responsibilities for Chairpersons and Committee Members, I believe, something along that line.
Yes, it is. That's the exact wording, Dennis. Very well said.
Beautiful.
I was just looking through it. Webmaster is in there in an old form, but education chair is not.
Right, there's a few others. Thank you.
We take and go back and look at all that stuff soon and put a blip in there, what's education, share responsibilities and that kind of stuff. So people, if we go out trying to recruit somebody or they want to look online, they can see what the responsibilities would be and as well as a time commitment.
Did we ever post our documents online, our Constitution, duties, responsibilities?
It should all be there. I believe Dave will answer that.
Okay.
Yeah, he's shaking his head yes.
Yep. All right, do we have any discussion online?
Other than Dave's writing up what he wants for that one real quick, no.
Okay. Was that part of her, that wasn't part of it for you?
No.
All right.
You've got a question here. What's the responsibility of the education chair? John Eastdorf?
Yeah, we already kind of discussed that.
Yep.
Yep. And Dave is working on typing that up right now as we speak.
Right.
All right. So let's move forward. Let's go on to old business. Automotive competition requests. I feel like we kind of covered this in our competition with Adam's report. Do we have any questions, comments, concerns, discussion on what we need to do with that?
We just need somebody, the automotive people, to step up. That's
Right.
the only way it's gonna happen. It's not gonna happen unless they step up.
Right. And I think with where Adam and I were last year, kind of going in between, let's see, Ferris State, we had one gentleman up north, and OCC. I think we have enough of a contact there that we can get one of them. The hardship that we were in last year with getting OCC was OCC said that they want to run it or they want to have it, but not necessarily run it. Well, we had two guys from Ferguson up north that said, well, we want to run it, but we're not going to drive all the way to OCC to host it there when we have Ferris facility here. So I think right now, moving forward, if we're not going to be at OCC, we can have it at Ferris and we can have them run it and do their grand thing. So I think that we should be able to move forward with this. And I'm just going to throw this out there since it's just us. I think that we need to be careful and we need to tread lightly, because if Ferris State wants to come in and run it and do that, we want to make sure that it stays Mites and doesn't turn into Ferris State. Just because I can see Ferris State wanting to take control over it, and then Ferris or Mites, and then it's Ferris State and Mites, and then it's just Ferris State. Because, for instance, they have a phenomenal competition every year that is 100% Ferris State. So that would be my only concern moving forward, is that we need to make sure that it stays a Mites competition with the help of Ferris State. But I think that we're moving in a good direction. I think that because we're not at OCC, we can probably get them to take this, as long as we have a couple people willing to at least step up and help work and help kind of make that transition happen between the two of them. Is there any other discussion on the automotive competition? Is there anything that we need to cover with it? Yeah.
Well, we need to be making sure it happens.
One said I do, but it might be more you biz.
As far as the automotive competition goes?
I just feel like, because
Yes.
OCC said no, nothing, Ferris might say the same thing. I mean, they might not be able to have it there. Like, yeah, they want to hold it, but, and then where are you going to hold it? Well, those tech centers, they have the capabilities, but they're going to say no.
Yeah.
Because schools are saying no. I just think, yeah, until January, I don't think you can make anything, like Dennis said earlier. January, maybe we'll start to see things a little different, but as of right now, I would say it's a no-go for everything.
Do we know, is Ferris in person?
Yes, they are.
They are in person
Yeah.
right now, so that is a plus.
Yes.
So how about this? I will, and obviously Sean has something to talk about underneath new business as far as the automotive competition goes, but Ab and I will reach out to our contact at Ferris and see how they're feeling about that this year. Because if they're in person now, that's at least a little grain of hope. that we might be able to host that and make that work. All right. Is there any other discussion on automotive competition? No? What else do we have for new? I think that's on the new one that
The oldest split competition with from the PD, and then hotel stays and reimbursements and details for regional change requests.
Okay, so what's the next one?
Splitting the competition in the PD.
Splitting competition in PD. So how do we do this? Do we just open up for discussion?
Yeah. That's
Okay.
what I think.
So what is our feelings towards splitting this? I know that we brought this up in the March meeting, but we did not want to tackle this one before we went into it. I think that it has some possibilities. I don't know how to go forward with this, especially in this chaos of the year.
Yeah, and this is something that's been brought up many a times over the years. I've brought it up a couple times. Cliff has brought it up a couple. Cliff Laner has brought it up a couple times.
Yeah.
So it's something that, yeah.
Well, and the reason we joined everything together before was because we were looking at the schools that were saying we're not paying for a membership
Yeah.
and also a convention. So we just rolled it together as professional development, like Rob was saying. But now we're getting to this realm where so much PD is done online, where maybe teachers just want to take PD online. Maybe they can't come to a convention for the year, and we don't want to have to charge them. So that's one thing we were talking about last time was getting Michelle involved and seeing if she can help us set up a PD system so that we could charge for a PD separate from a convention. That's where we were coming at with this question of, do we want to split this apart? And so we could still have convention and we could have PD, but how are we going to look at that?
And yeah, so like an idea would be, so if we have this PD online and this is a session, do we say this session costs you $5 or is it, if you're to me, almost when you separate it, it's gonna be kind of too hard to try to figure out if, you paid to go to the competition, but do you get free PD? Or do you say, no, the PD is a separate charge, but not a big charge, I guess I'd look at it as. I don't know.
So we have a membership fee that we already have, and whether you call it a membership fee, a convention fee, a PD fee, we still have that fee. Is there a way that we can possibly do our convention with PD so we can still get people in for that, but then also say August, we offer 2 days in one location where you can do a PD as well. And maybe we could tie it in with a golf outing or something like that, so that, hey, while we're there, we might as well on that last day.
Right.
All right, we're gonna do in the morning PD, and then after that, we're gonna go swing some clubs.
Right. And that's part of your PD.
I think that
Part of
would
the
be,
cost of the PD, the golf outing would be, I don't know.
if that's an opportunity. I don't think we need to necessarily cut PD out of our convention right now.
No.
But what we can do is we can add on and say, all right, well, we're gonna have a PD session in the middle in the summer. That way we can test it out and not cut out those conventions. Dave, what do you think?
What about having, as part of their membership, they get all the online, like we have 2 levels of PD. They have a basic level that they get with their membership, and then we have special events, which they would have to pay for, but they would have to be a member to get that.
Right.
So it gives them incentive to join, and we can offer higher level stuff. And then we also have some like smaller PD conferences with fundraising options.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good idea. Because if we're gonna have people put in special sessions, and here's the next thing. So if we do special sessions, are we going to run that with speeches or whatever those things
That's
are now?
the thing we have to. All of our PD, we have to have it so we can get that.
Okay.
Any PD.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, with our DPPD, we still get enough hours through that for our license renewal, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so really it's a nice thing to offer, but we don't necessarily absolutely have to have the speeches. It just makes it a lot more convenient for us to offer that. The hardship, and this is something through my presidency with the Northern Michigan Welding Educators, I've struggled with finding a way to get it approved. Because my district won't approve it, because they say it's not our district thing, that's your thing. Then I go to our ISD and our ISD says, oh, well, it's not an ISD thing, it's your thing, you need to figure this out.
That's where I talked with Jeff yesterday morning, and that's something he brought up. He says he can't, which I don't understand. I guess, because like when you put, as long as the state approves that we can get sketchies for it, I have a hard, because I'm not CTE, but I don't understand why that, when you put that in there and the state says it's good, what does the district, I guess I'm confused about that.
It's been explained to me that somebody has to push the paperwork, and the district isn't willing, whether it's the district or the ISD, they're not willing to sacrifice the time.
For our, I know what you're saying. So somebody within our organization needs to be in charge of, with the state, to get it approved for
Right.
sketchies.
Correct.
And that's something you can ask Michelle too, here in New Business, because she's doing that with educators and such through.
So that's what we need.
What she's
I actually put that under the educational chair duties.
That's a good spot for it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Once you learn how to do it, it shouldn't be that hard.
Right. It's just a matter of pushing papers.
Yeah.
Honestly. So is this something that we want to look at possibly offering next summer, a 1-day or 2-day PD conference for our membership? Because that's really the question at hand. We don't want to give up PD inside of our convention, but if this is something that we do want to look at, once again, we have to have somebody say, all right, I'm going to organize this day, find a place for it, and try to line up PD.
Well, I think if let's take a step back and say we don't need to do like right away in person. What if we do virtual right now? Because that's what Michelle's doing right now. And she's, as long as she can get the videos for training and things like that, she can set these things up in a matter of hours, depending on what's provided to her. She's run at least 5, I believe it is, 7-day virtual conferences so far. So that's good questions to ask her about how fast of a turnaround, because I think this year is the make or break year. We've got to get PD out and make MITES PD relevant this year,
right?
Before Christmas. It's got to come sooner rather than later. So if we offer even every quarter some kind of, we're running, this week is our PD sessions we're running or something every quarter or something, just so that people stay engaged, involved, and also have an alternative, like you said, than to going to their regular school meetings to get their PD that as shop teachers, I never wanted to sit through, and I didn't want to review the English curriculum and try to help them figure that out, because that wasn't what I signed up for.
Some districts allow you to get your own, you don't have to do the district.
Really?
East Rapids did, which was awesome, because I was like, man, theirs is not as good.
See,
I don't get anything.
ours won't let us do that. We're required to sit down in those PLC meetings every time and suffer.
And so, if you have that option, if Mike gives that option to members, they're going to say, I would think that if I have the option of going here or going here, I'm going to choose MITES over sitting through my school's PD. And for $100, when you look at how much it costs to go to a conference to get PD, that's cheap. That is extremely cheap. And if that's part of your membership, and then we offer above and beyond, like Dave was saying, we have multiple tiers of buy-in to PD. You're going to get different options out there and keep people involved. Like Jim was saying, you don't want to split the PD off from what you're doing as a regular organization, because you don't want to lose people. So if we keep that together and we offer additional levels.
All right, so here's my question, and here's what I'm hearing is that we want to offer PD, say, once a year or once a quarter, but we also have talked about offering PD as a standard note on our website of, all right, we'll watch this and do this and we'll give you PD. How are we going to differentiate, or how are we going to work both of those? Because if I have it here, why am I going to show up on these 2 days? And then also if I'm offer on these 2 days here, what's going to keep us from taking it here and putting it over here? I guess, how is that going to look? What's going to keep those separate? Or I guess I'm not I'm not seeing everything.
So what you're saying is if we offer the PD, so welding, you offer a basic, just a welding PD on basic gas welding.
Yeah.
And you do it online here, but yet you're gonna have it at the convention here. What are you gonna gain from it? Why would you go over here? My reason would be is if I go over here. So if I took it here, I think online is great, but due to the fact that we do hands-on stuff, when you're at a hands-on PD and you're talking about the torches,
yeah,
you would have, the person could say, okay, what about the, you got more, I don't know. I personally, I would probably do it here just to get it out of the way, but then I'd also maybe come over here. I don't know. I think it's up in the air.
But if we're,
I see what you're saying, why would I go here?
but if we're offering both of them, they're both virtually, and one is virtually live and virtually recorded.
Yeah.
What, like, why, how? I guess I'm
I
not.
see what you're saying.
You know what, Chuck? I think it has to do with the topics, because there are going to be some topics that don't lend themselves, as Pete was saying, to virtual as easily. The ones online are also going to probably be shorter. So if we want to try and get some of those bigger topics, those could be great for the conference or in-person stuff, whereas we give smaller, chunked out PD online.
Okay, good point. That is, yeah.
Like I'm not against it. I'm just trying to wrap my head around how this is going to look with a virtual conference for PD with a standard click bar of PD and a live PD. I get the live PD versus the virtual. I'm still wrapping my mind around the two options for virtual. So,
you know what? I think this also does require some more discussion, because this is a big topic and a big shift for us. We do have the infrastructure. We can make it happen. It's just kind of the structure of it all.
All right.
He has a thought. I have it.
Sean, what's your thought?
So on the PD thing, from a 13-year experience, the major reason I want to go to a conference is see the vendors. And if we're not going to have a in-person PD thing, then they need to be short, sweet, get in, get out, get my sketches or whatever it is, and then move on for the day. So I would still like to see some attempt of a live conference, because the vendor portion of it is the most, at least for me, the most appealing part of the conferences. Because even if it's a live conference, we're still sitting in a conference room, and it's not as hands-on as we normally would like it. But then you've always got the vendor booths, and that's where I get the most out of my conferences.
Right. And I don't think we're definitely not moving PD out of our conference. That will always, well, as of right now, we're still keeping that part of it. Mike, so could we do vendor virtual meetings? If we make it part of our PD sessions, then yeah, by all means. That was one thing that we talked about with our PD session.
Well, I'm also thinking during the year, have a meeting where members can come in and meet with, say, Stratasys or whoever, and just have a Q&A meeting with them, maybe.
Well, then, yeah, then that's where you get that's where Rob would step in.
Yeah.
Right.
Because
and that could be the kind of thing, if they sign up to sponsor convention, they get that as part of their package.
Right.
I think that with some of the directions that we're going with this PD and with our vending and things, like, for example, this is what's on the top of my head, is that in the past, we've always tried to avoid having our vendors do PD sessions because we were afraid of it turning into we're going to push our product. Where now we've kind of opened it up. And one thing I've made sure to say is that we need to bring in Miller Electric, for example. Miller Electric offers Miller Open Book, which is a free publication. Actually, it's a free online classes for welding for students, and it's free. Well, why aren't we having Miller come in and present this? Well, because they're going to push their product. Yeah, but their product is free. Right. And they're the knowledgeable, they're the experts. So I think that with us bringing those companies in for their PD, we're going to see that open up a lot more doors, not only in our PD, but also in our vending. Because now Miller Electric says, all right, well, I'm doing PD for them. I have this captive audience of people that might need welders. I'm gonna get a step up on Lincoln Electric and ESOB, and I'm gonna have a booth here. So I definitely think that this is all going in a good direction. Talking about PD and also, like we said, getting companies in here to do PD. So let's face it, teachers are great, but also all these companies have educational experts with their companies as well to learn how to, teach people how to use their equipment. So I think it's a great conversation. I think we need to keep on going down it.
A lot of good ideas.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we're going to talk with Michelle here in a little bit about more PD options. So I think that for right now, we should try and get through our next couple old businesses.
Hotel stay 200 miles away.
Yeah. We're going to get through our next couple old businesses and try and get to Michelle for new business. And I think Sean had something for new business as well. So let's look at the next thing on the list or the agenda is hotel stay for over 200 miles. Yasmin, do we have some clarification on what we had to discuss with that? I know that it was approved that we were going to do hotel stay or mileage.
The hotel stay.
Yeah. It was tabled to this one from last one.
Okay. What did we approve last meeting?
We approved the increase in mileage from 20 to 28.
Okay.
But we did not do the hotel stay.
All right, so at our last March meeting, for those that didn't hear, we approved increasing the mileage from up to 200 miles. So if you are over 200 miles, we will approve. Oh, we changed it. So what do we need to do this meeting?
So we need to make a decision. Do we want
Have
to?
the hotel stay if they travel over 200 miles one way. But then somebody else mentioned if they cross the bridge.
Okay. So the question is, if somebody travels over 200 miles, do we pay for half their hotel? Or do we want that to read if they cross the bridge? Any discussion on either one of those options? Obviously, we have to make a choice on one of them.
We can table it again too.
Or we can table it.
Well, we need to have some support for these guys that are traveling a long ways. And
Right.
Great.
And I think the biggest place where we're going to see this, obviously we're doing a live right now with limited numbers, but when we talk about our March meeting, that's going to be the one because we have people, RAOs, coming from over the bridge. Personally, to me, I have no problem leaving it at 200 miles because 200 miles, if our meeting is up in Traverse City and I'm down in Monroe, that's over 200 miles. They're going to get paid. They're not crossing the bridge, but now we're saying we're going to pay for somebody that is, say, in St. Ignace to come, a half hour or an hour versus not paying for somebody in Monroe. I don't think that we need to define a specific physical barrier. It's more of how many miles are you coming. How do we feel about that? Dennis?
When we started doing this, there were only 2 or so coming from the UP, maybe 3. And there's still only 2 or maybe 3 coming from the UP. And we made it as, if you cross the bridge, we're going to pay for a one-night stay. We seldom went north at that time. We were mostly downstate, like Lansing and Equal, or maybe a little farther. I don't know what to say regarding, where's the cutoff limit. Establish that, and if you need to go outside of that, if somebody needs reimbursement for a motel, many of them don't take it now. So it's kind of a moot question. But if they need it, all they gotta do is ask, and you can, approve it, or probably going to approve it anyway. Bill Green did 500 and some miles, and he'd do that trip in one day.
No.
Or sometimes he'd come overnight. So we paid half his. I think we paid the whole thing, actually. I can't quite remember, but I don't know what to tell you. I think we support those that need the support.
No. And I'm one of those people, I'm not going to take the money because I want it to stay here.
Yeah.
So I guess
donation. Thank you.
Here's my question, Josh. When we look at this in the past, say last January, do we have a guesstimate about how much we spend on either a hotel stay for our meetings or gas mileage for our meetings?
I mean, we can look back and see off the top of my head. I might get, 3 overnights. I think in the March meeting, I might have got 3 hotels I paid for out of that. I know one for sure, but I was thinking there was a couple others, but they might have taken a donation on that too.
Okay.
So,
So we might reimburse them too.
right. And so like Dennis was saying, they're either gonna take a donation, they're gonna get school reimbursement, or they're, gonna request it, and I don't get a lot of them.
Okay.
So the only time we really spend a lot of money on hotel is when we're talking, the executive board at convention. But other than that, there's not a lot of hotel expenses that we pay for.
Okay.
So I
With those ones that happened during our outside convention, were those ones that happened, were they people that drove a long distance, or were they ones that just, said, hey,
usually long distance. I mean,
Okay.
we're talking, 2-3 hours of drive time. And honestly, my thing with it is when I was younger teaching, I had young kids. I had to take them with me. So we had to spend the night. I didn't often take a reimbursement, but that was something where I didn't
to have it there.
Right. I didn't have that option of not taking an overnight a lot of times. So I almost feel like 200 miles is like, well, what if you're 199, versus the guy that's 201? I know you have to have a cutoff somewhere, but I'm almost thinking good faith, if what's 50% of a hotel stay?
Right.
$100
50 to $100
at the most. So, if you're paying for half of that and mileage, maybe it's, $150 you're paying the person instead of $50 for mileage or whatever it ends up being. I don't know. I'm just kind of leery about making a decision about this specific and making a cutoff. I know we want to cut expenses, but I think we need to sit down and talk about what expenses can we cut? Is this something we want to cut out? Is this something we want to set a limit on more than, just here? Come with a plan.
Okay.
There's a couple comments.
One of our comments says no other group I'm in pays for our hotel, and one of them is in Vegas, which is true when we talk about what is it? Hot Rodders of America. They go to Vegas almost every year, and they also usually go to PRI in Indianapolis, and they have to raise their own fundage for that. So it's similar. I'm not sure what Sean is with talking with Vegas, but that's the one that comes to my mind when I talk about Vegas. So yeah, I 100% agree. I still think we need to offer it as an opportunity for those people that want to join and maybe, say they're in their first year of teaching, they make $30,000 a year. They're struggling. Let's see, next one. Can it be said the treasurer can use his professional judgment? I think that it's vague and unclear, and usually I like vague and unclear.
Well, I just, for those people, like if somebody's at 189 miles,
Right.
the treasurer can say, yes, I'm going to approve that.
Yeah, in which case I'm pretty okay with that. And it doesn't sound like this is something we're spending a lot of money
Not
on.
abusing it.
We're not.
So is this something we want to really worry about? We want to table it? Do we want to talk about it as an executive board? Dennis?
We never really voted to take it off the table, so we're,
Right.
if you leave it alone, it's still sitting there in the back of your mind.
So if we want to take this off of our agenda, we have to vote to take it off our agenda.
Off of the table,
Off the table and actually vote on it.
if you want to vote on it.
I think we should table it till next time, come with some ideas.
Leave it alone.
Yeah.
Leave it on the table.
Yep.
Leave it. All right,
We had a
so,
nice discussion, just discussion,
Yeah.
information.
all right, we're gonna table this and discuss it at our next meeting in November. Let's see, next thing on our list is details for regional change request. I know that we said that we can switch regions, but it's we did decide that it would be by district, so we can't have one teacher go rogue and leave the rest of his district behind. It has to be by district. What we did table was how are we going to go about this, what the process is, and the paperwork to do so. Is this something we want to deal with now, or do we want to come up with a better idea, more definition?
I think I sent out something right after that meeting, like a form that they could. But I don't remember now.
It was like 6 months ago.
That was like, almost a year ago.
Don't worry, it'll go away.
All right, so if it's all right with anybody, I think we should do that with this as well. Let's look up what Yasmin sent out, see if we can come back, and we will come up with a better answer for that. More of a presentation than a let's talk about it and try and come up with something all together. Does that sound like an idea?
Yeah.
Okay. Sean said that's the one, and PRI is Indy. Correct.
Yeah.
Yep. So those competitions that he was talking about was for Hot Rodders of America in both Las Vegas and in Indianapolis. So let's see. And I think that puts us through into new business. Do we want to start off with Sean or with Michelle?
Let's do Michelle last.
Okay, so Sean, tell us what your new business is with the automotive competition. What's your idea?
So thanks guys for letting me talk. I've been teaching now automotive for 13 years, 7 here in Michigan, 3 schools total, 2 of them downriver. And of the 2 schools I've been with, MITES is not approved. It's just not approved. So going back to your thing with Dana and getting MITES on the CTSO list will help tremendously. But I'm thinking of a couple things here, and I've got a whole thought bubble going on a sheet of paper. One being the biggest one that I used to be part of, other than Skills USA, was the Ford AAA one. And, those competitions were huge, and we're talking national, and but they lost AAA for a sponsor. So I don't know how we can capitalize on that aspect of it. But it's been disappointing because when I was in a school that supported MITES, I competed, usually did pretty well, but it was sporadic at best. But moving forward with the organization, how do we get automotive more involved? How do we get more memberships, that kind of stuff? Well, with Perkins 5, that opens up venues now at the middle school level. So how do we bring this down to a middle school level to get them involved early, then to build the program from there? So long story short, to build the automotive program, we got to get more support, I think, honestly, downriver. And then how do we get more support? We get more organizations like Oakland Community College to get involved, and then maybe get this, at a bigger level. And again, the Hot Rodders thing was just one example of why I'm part of that, is that the kids have a national competition to go to. So it's bigger and better. So while we can't do a national, Ford AAA thing, we got to have something big at the end at a state level that brings the attraction to the instructors that are going to put in the time and effort to raise the funds. The kids are going to spend their money to go do that kind of stuff. And I think that really starts, honestly, bringing this back to middle school level. So going back to the Hot Rodders, they do essentially a lawnmower thing where they do a lawnmower challenge, engine challenge. And there's ways we could do that. I know of schools that are already doing lawnmowers as part of their automotive curriculum. I don't agree with it, but it's something, as far as new ideas are concerned, to get that automotive committee back on focus and build a more proactive, engaging, and competitive circuit again. I'd like to see it come back.
I agree 110% with you with what you're saying. Just as from my years in MITES, what we've struggled with the automotive competition, especially in the last 4 or 5 years, Jerry Licky kind of took care of everything for automotive. He kept the trailer, he did all that, he ran the whole thing, and then when he left, nobody wanted to step up and take it. And that's kind of, that is what has really kind of dogged our entire automotive competition. This last year, Ab and I, we went round and round trying to find anybody to step up to the plate and just kind of run the competition. Because here's the thing, I can probably go in and run the competition, but let's face it, I teach machine tool well. You don't want me in there running your competition because I'm not as far into the competition as you are. My knowledge level isn't as vast as yours, or even where it should be. So
is there an automotive committee still?
The automotive committee last year kind of, and I don't know how to put this correctly, so help me out and bear with me. Pretty much the last year, September, August, summer, the automotive committee kind of said, hey, these are our demands. Do this for us or we're just not going to do it.
And that's what I heard that as well. So that's why I was just kind of concerned why that happened.
And there was some legitimacy in what they had to say, but there was also kind of that threat of a dictatorship in it too. And it's like, from the perspective of the board, we want to bring these teachers in. We want to have that opportunity for all students, whether it's automotive or welding or wood shop or drafting. We want that to be there. But in the end of the day, we're all the same organization. Our dues go to whoever comes in and asks for it. So for one thing, they were asking for, well, we want Mike's to pay all of our dues that go in need to be for food and membership and offering scholarships. Well, here's the thing. We would be more than happy to offer to pay for food for the automotive competition and do different things, but nobody from that group would come to the board and ask us. So if the organization, if the board or if the automotive committee wouldn't come and ask us, well, we can't approve it. So there was a lot of people that had a lot of goodwill and wanted to do it. We just didn't have somebody from that group that wanted to step up and say, all right, well, this is what we want. This is what we want you to help with. These are the things we need, and this is the direction we're going. So that's where we're struggling right now. Is like I said earlier in our meeting, we have Ferris State that wants to host this and take on, and that's great. And he's willing to do that, but he wasn't willing to do that this last year to help out OTC because it wasn't his organization. Well, we need a person, and it sounds like you're very adamant about having this competition. I would love to see you take those reins and say, all right, this is the direction we want to go. This is what we want to do. These are the magic things that need to happen. And then you come to us and tell us, all right, well, I need this, this, and this to make this. All right, well, we can do that. Let's see, we can work this out. You need $2,000 for new tools and equipment. Here you go, have it, and make magic happen. We want this to happen, but we just, like I said, we've been struggling with finding somebody to step in that position, take the reins and say, all right, we're going this direction.
Well, let me share something. Maybe this might help. And again, I'm very limited in my mites knowledge. Like even when I started in 2006, I'd heard the word mites. I didn't know much about it. My school didn't approve it. Anyways, from what I've seen of mites in my limited exposure, like construction trades and culinary and welding, a lot of the schools that I see running those programs aren't always CTE funded. But if every school I've been to, if you want to run an automotive program, most of them, I won't say most, quite a few obviously are CTE funded. And with CTE funding from the state, our CTSO has to be quote unquote Skills USA. So we already have to do that. But what I'm getting to is I know there are still a lot of schools in the state of Michigan, even downriver, that are running what I can call a consumer auto shop that aren't getting funded. And going back to the discussion of the education chair, then I think the education chair person should be able to find out who those schools are and then start building back that auto program with a committee that's going to be focused around the non-CTE approved courses or classes. Because again, in the automotive world, our curriculum is ASC Education Foundation, formerly known as NATEF. Our rules and regulations of what we got to do are pretty intense, not to take away from any other program. Construction and culinary all do great things with their program. But if the kids are going to compete, they've got to be at that level. So I'm looking forward to helping, and that's why I asked about the education committee chairperson. But I also know there is a committee out there already, so I don't want to step on anybody's toes. I know I've heard Jerry's name before. I know a guy personally, part of Mites, that's I think part of the auto committee. I'm not totally sure, but I've heard some of the disdain over the years of what's been happening. And all I want to do ultimately is give my kids another competition to go to. So the new school I'm at now, we do Skills USA because I've got a regional, state, and national competition.
Right.
We do Hot Rodders because there's a very, very small state competition. There's only like 3 schools in the state of Michigan that do it. We've got to go to Lane to compete for that. And nobody reimburses us for it. I spent $7,000 just getting the engine together, the competition engine together. But I just want another opportunity for the kids to compete in something. And when I went to compete a couple of years ago, I was like first year competitor. I was like, I don't know what to expect, guys. I'm just going to throw everything I can at you under the sun. And in 6 months, we're going to compete and see what happens. And I had one student that placed second, and I had my other students placed, third, fourth, and fifth in their respective. So we did well. Yeah. But it's one of those things that I'd love to see the automotive be part of it. And the ideas are, building it around a Ford AAA thing or a Hot Rodders thing. I'd love to see somehow we get in bed with Hot Rodders and get more schools in the state of Michigan to do the Hot Rodders competition. And then maybe Mike could sponsor a Hot Rodders competition as part of, I don't know how that works logistic wise, but, but as far as new business, I'd love to be part and help some way get that committee back in focus.
John, can you send your, put that right, send your, Chuck? John?
Yes, sir.
Can you send your thoughts to Chuck and put them in writing? So we have the
I can do that.
So we got the ideas captured.
I can do that.
Great.
So Sean, right now our automotive committee actually is empty. Like I don't believe we have anybody on the automotive committee. I'm sure that I could tug Doug's arm, and Doug will be more than happy to help. He's a good friend of mine down there at Lakeshore. Also does Hot Rodders. You probably know him through that. But we don't have an automotive committee. So right now it's just Ab and I trying to find people to go ahead and set up. Now, when we talk about your CTSO, you can get that approved through the state, but they will not accept if you just put down Mites, they won't accept it. But if you can show them the leadership that goes with it and your president, your notes from your meeting, and your election results, they will accept Mites as a CTSO because that's what I do at Coloma, and I know that's what Ransom does at Coloma as well. And a lot of our other automotive teachers and other teachers across the state that use Mites for their CTSO, they won't accept it straight out because we don't have a leadership opportunity for our students. But if you can show them the documentation to show that you are running a leadership experience for your students, they will accept Mites as your caveat or your competition. And those are things that we can talk about. And honestly, if you ask Dana about it, Dana should be able to tell you that because she knows me really well and she's seen all my documentation numerous times.
Well, that's the reason, the first reason why I went with Skills is that to start a quote unquote leadership, to hold meetings that follow Robert's rules and all that stuff.
Yeah.
I don't have any of that experience. I'm just floundering around when it comes to that kind of stuff. But Skills has this, $300 package you can buy that's got everything laid out, and you've got bylaws in there, and they've got all the championship, all the feel good meetings for the kids to attend. So that's why the state maybe for another thing for new business, that might starts developing a PD for students. A lot of things I do on my own for career building. My students are going to be doing virtual interviews next week with my advisory board members. And again, tying back into the automotive and new business stuff. You know, my advisory board member, I've got acquisition managers for Suburban Collection. I've got a national training director of training for for a large OEM in there.
Yeah.
And they're pretty active in skills. And so, you know, if we could tie this into a, hey, but this is Michigan, support mites,
Yeah.
maybe we could get something like the Ford AAA back, at least at a Michigan level, that would then revitalize the automotive program or the automotive competitions.
Yeah. And we do, that's one thing that we have done in the past is our student leadership portion. Chuck did it. And that's one thing that we are still doing. Dave's actually heading that up. And then also with our live competitions in welding machine tool for next year and graphic arts drafting for this year. We're working on getting those live competitions going so that we do get that more blanket approval from the state of Michigan. But it's a process. But we are moving in that direction. Can you do me a favor and send me your information? Like shoot me in an email. That way I can have that, and I'll use you if it's all right. I'll use you to help get this automotive competition thing going and on its feet. Like I said, right now we've just been struggling finding somebody to even help run it. It's been a struggle.
When Jim mentioned Chuck, is he talking about you then, Charles?
Yep, I'm that guy.
I'm just writing down your name now, so I've got it. I've got to run. I've got a family member that's helping clear an estate today, so I was actually supposed to be there at 11 to patch some ceiling holes that they fell through in the garage. So I've got to. I'm sorry, I got to run, but I told him I'd be there at 11, but I wanted to wait for new business. Yeah, guys, I'll get this email together within a couple days. And Charles, I'm sure I can find your email address in the mites page somewhere. But if you could just send me an email, I can copy and paste in chat. That'd be great.
Thank you very much for participating in your comments.
Thanks, John and ladies.
And we are, like I said, you're always welcome to join us in our meetings and be part of our organization. You know, that's what we want is to help grow and connect people.
Thanks.
And I'm sending you my email in the chat. I think that works. So there's my email for you.
Got it. Thank you.
All right. Thank you much. All right.
So I'll do education chair, lobbyist, and then
what are we doing? Oh, Dave, education chair.
Yep. Sorry, I was muted. Let me track down that document where I just put it.
Can you share that and Yasmin can see it and she's the one that'll be recording it?
Yep. I just let's see. I'm gonna actually drop it in chat because it's not super long. That way you guys can all take a look at it. And then I'll share the document as well. And there's the link for the actual document.
Great.
All right, so do we want to discuss this?
I tried to keep it short and sweet.
Okay, does anybody have any discussion about this description of duties and responsibilities for educational chair?
Looks good.
It looks good, but I'm worried about if somebody who's not CTE that would maybe be interested in it, seeing that it with where you have support general CTE activities. Would it be possible we are,
let's
industrial tech maybe?
Yeah,
I almost
use the more
think,
general term.
yeah, I think that would be, I don't know, I'm just saying somebody who doesn't teach CTE might.
Yep.
They might be thinking, oh, this is more for the tech center. Yeah, we need something that covers
We don't
everybody.
include everybody.
Yeah, we have to include.
We've tried to do that all forever. Yeah. That's how it
You,
would go if we didn't.
What'd you put down for that, Dave?
I'm going to switch all the CTEs to general industrial / vocational technology education.
Perfect. Yes, perfect. That's
Okay.
Can you repost that to our video on the side there?
Yep. The link is still the same. Just for anybody that's in the document. I'm just cleaning up some formatting real quick. Okay.
Is that a new member in the background?
No, that's Yasmin joining us back again.
No, I thought the dog.
The dog.
She done got kicked off.
Computer died. It didn't even like tell me it was low.
just died.
Yeah.
All right. Do we have any more discussion about his responsibilities and duties? All right, is this something we can vote on today?
Yeah.
Okay. If there's no more discussion as far as that and rewording it, let's go ahead and take a vote. All those in favor of instating this educational chair responsibilities and duties? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right, good deal. That looks like the winner chicken dinner. Next on our new business is the lobbyist, which Adam's not with us anymore because his phone died. So what were we going to discuss with that one?
Did we want to pay the $5,000 to go to lobbies? That's about.
I agree with you about let's keep the link. Let's just not pay the full wad.
Yeah.
An appropriate amount in my mind would be let's designate $1,000 towards services.
Okay.
And keep the link, because who knows?
Yeah.
You know, I think it's been a positive thing, but we almost annually ask what are we getting for our $5,000, $4,000,
Right.
whatever.
Which
over the years.
honestly, last year we did get some good stuff. I mean, we got meetings face to face with OCTE or MCTE, and we got meetings face to face with MDE and some different representatives. So,
And that's
like the appropriations committee representative, I mean, it was, to me, I can see where that is beneficial for us. I also agree with Adam saying right now with all this crap going on in our state, like it's going to be a struggle to get anything education wise on the floor and dealt with.
Yeah.
So I agree. I think we should try and keep that at least the tie there. Say, hey, can we here's $1,000, give us what you can, at least keep that connection with our lobbyists so that we don't lose them on our side.
Because the only thing that I feel probably will pass educational wise, because just at in my last AFS meeting, the representative from just north of here was at it, and it's still out there, but to give schools more control over how they getting rid of the foreign language and all that, so that kids can get more tech center, industrial arts classes. That still that's educational wise, that's about it. But it hasn't been, it's still within, I don't know, committee, House, Senate, I'm not sure where, I can remember where he said it was at, but that is still something that.
That was in committee when we were up there last year.
Yeah, but there was a business person at the meeting, local business guy that.
Wasn't that Bumstead that was trying to?
Yeah, Bumstead, yeah, that's the meeting I was at. He was at our AFS meeting. But the one guy who had testified at this committee, for the committee of it last year, said that the head of the superintendent organization, he was like totally against it. So I don't know if it's yeah. So it's still out there. That's the only thing that Bumstead, that whole thing.
Yeah. right, so when we talk about what we have to vote on, do we want to, obviously, 5,000 might be
Right now?
a bit
Well,
much.
The other part is, we're not the only organization struggling to pay their lobbyists.
That's right.
You know, you want something or you want nothing.
Yep, yeah. So how much do you think we can afford? Because at the bare minimum, we can say, all right, well, we can afford $10 to do this.
Yeah.
Here you go, Adam, if they do, then they'll take it, and we'll be in their cohort. Because also like you're saying, we're still a number of people, we're still people that will back them, we're loud.
Right.
They do better if they have more numbers behind them.
Yeah.
So how much are we willing to spend towards a lobbyist and still feel safe with life at the end of the day?
Well, I'm thinking if there's no action going on in the legislature right now, do we even need to pay at this point for the upcoming? Or can we say, let's keep the line of communication open with you, we'll come back to you when things start moving through again? I mean, we could do this quarterly. I mean, we could pay him quarterly if we wanted to, couldn't we? I know I approached that before and he said, oh,
I thought it was a year contract.
yeah, we were paying a year contract at one
All at
time,
once.
all at once, right?
It's a better rate,
But
typically.
maybe, we don't need him this quarter. Nothing's going on in the legislature.
What is our dollar amount that needs to be approved to go through the board? Like with a standard high school, you have to, if it's over $3,000, you have to have it approved by, or you have to have it 3 different quotes. Do we have anything set in stone about what needs to get approved by?
No.
Okay.
What we have done in the past is, on new financial expenditure, this is not one of those. We had 2 votes. But that's as needed.
What kind of compensation we have coming back? What's the guy done for us? How much money has he brought in?
As far as money wise, I don't think he's brought in any money to us. He's one of the people that was pushing for that $50,000 that was a state line expenditure. But that got X'd out by Gretchen Whitmer. So, I mean, he hasn't necessarily brought in money, but this is also a position that isn't necessarily going to bring in money. We're looking for legislation out of it, or for better opportunities for our teachers. It's not like we're doing this to make money. We're doing this to help out our membership. So we can't necessarily put it in a monetary value.
Well, that's what the MEA is for, right? We pay dues, and most of you guys pay dues to the MEA, and you
Right.
write them with your concerns.
But remember,
The legislation.
MEA is also focused on all teachers altogether. So they're going to worry more about 10 math teachers in a school than they will about 1 shop teacher. So that's why we have this organization for MITES to help represent not only CTE teachers, but also our unrepresented, I don't want to say uncertified, but non-CTE teachers. And that's what this representative has done, because when we went up there and talked to MDE, that was one thing I threw at both MDE and MCT. I said, look, CTE teachers already have their line of communication because they have funding come in, so they have funding going out. They have that. The only people that are never represented are people that are middle school teachers or IX teachers, because there's no voice for them. Like I said, MD or not MDE, but our unions, that's 1 out of 100 people. So that's why that's my place where I say, yeah, I think we do need to keep this line of communication open for not just our organization, but our membership, because then they still do have a voice, a more heard voice, at least.
But you could do that with your MEA reps too.
Once again, that's still 1 out of 100. Remember, the squeaky wheel gets that. You've said this 1,000 times. The squeaky wheel gets greased. Well, a little squeak doesn't get as much as a big squeak.
Okay, so let's do a lot of squeaking.
So can we?
Membership, once a year to contact their reps, you know, and ask, you know, here's an agenda, here's what we're looking for, right? And have them all hit those guys at the same time, we'll probably get some movement.
Right. But we can't control what our members are doing. We can only control what our opportunities as a leadership executive board are. So let's focus on what the task is at hand. The task at hand is, do we want to still give money towards our lobbyists, or do we feel as though we need to suspend this contract? Adam clearly stated during his legislature meeting or report that this is a decision that has to be made in September because our dues are due in September. So the question is, do we keep our $5,000 and pay him the contract, or do we offer him a lesser amount to try and keep ties, or do we nix that contract for a year and try and come back at it next year? Those are the three options.
This is good. I think the motion to suspend it.
So Jim makes a motion to suspend the paying the contract. I would second that. Now we can discuss it.
Okay. Do we want to suspend the contract?
I think we can suspend the contract for a quarter and come back at the next meeting and say, hey, have things changed? Do we want to tell him now we're ready to pay the $5,000 and take a year? Because really it's about whenever the contract starts for us. I'm sure he'll take our money anytime because money's money. No. And if we say, you know, at the November meeting, hey, we're ready to pay you $5,000 because things have turned around, and he'd probably say, okay, let's sign the contract, and here's, you know, we pay him the $5,000. He's good for a year until the next November. Okay. Or if we decide to suspend again, and then for another quarter or a couple months.
Well, the idea is, guys, we need to see something for our money, right? The idea of have them lobbying for us is we can see some results after some amount of time.
Well, and that could be the next thing that we look at the next meeting is, you know, Adam can bring to us. These are the things that he was able to do this last year. Nothing's going on right now, or now things are picking up, and this is where he's going to be focusing his time for the next, you know, 12 months or whatever, just to give us an idea.
If we're getting something out of it, fine. If we're not getting something out of it, drop it.
So what I suggest that we should work on voting on or vote on is not should we suspend their contract or not. I think we should vote on should we suspend the contract until our next meeting.
So I would make a friendly motion or friendly addition to that amendment that we suspend the contract until the next regular membership and board meeting where we can make a decision.
And then we have to discuss that.
I think it's a good idea.
Not a discussion. All right, so discussion on the new motion to suspend it.
Go with whatever feels good.
Vote to add the.
Let's have a discussion on the addition or the friendly amendment to.
If you vote the amendment down, it goes with the original. Right. I think we vote on the amendment.
Mm-hmm.
I think. It's been a long time, sorry.
Yeah, we don't do this one very often.
We don't.
Okay, so do we want to vote, or we're going to vote on the amendment to add in the clause of tabling it to the next meeting and reevaluate our lobbyists at our next meeting? Did I get that right?
Yes.
As long as we don't pay him any money.
Right. We're not paying anything until we make a decision at the next meeting.
We're pausing the contract at this point.
All right, so all those in favor of the amendment to add in tabling it to the next meeting? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
No.
Okay, we have 4.
Majority rules. Good enough.
4-1. So majority rules. That is added to the original statement.
Motion by Jim to suspend.
Okay. So now do we want to vote on that?
Do we have any other discussion on that? Probably.
Do we have any discussion on the new motion? No discussion? Anything on?
Let's vote for it.
All right. let's vote for that motion. The motion is to not pay our lobbyists anything, and we will reevaluate our lobbyist situation at our next meeting, with Adam giving some more information on our lobbyists' actions. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, that passes. We will be moving that, and we will be reevaluating that at our next meeting in November. And now we're up to Michelle. Whew. Yeah, last item. She's gonna do an awesome job. I have faith. Michelle, give us the spiel.
Awesome. So can you guys hear me? If you can, give me a thumbs up.
Thumbs up.
Thumbs up.
Awesome. Awesome. Good. I've had some tech issues this week, so that's awesome. All right. So I'm going to back up just a little bit because I'm not exactly sure who's in the meeting and just give you a brief synopsis of who I am. So I am Michelle Burkhardt, obviously Josh's wife. I've been hanging around with mites for as long as he has. I know many of you already. And I have had my own business for about 10 years. I was a classroom teacher. I was a school administrator. And then I started my own business as a speaker, trainer, and consultant, mainly in the area of leadership development. And my business kind of took a turn with COVID, right? So before COVID, I was 100% in person, usually in a training room or on the stage. And now I'm 100% in this chair in my corner office, i.e. the corner of our living room. And since then, I've had 87 live events get canceled for different trainings and conferences. And I've had the opportunity to really play around with how do I continue to support people, mainly within the education field. And out of all of that, a new business model has occurred. And I'm really excited. I'm hosting, actually today was the start of my 8th virtual week-long conference in 2 months. And I know that PD is really important to you guys, and with the COVID situation, you're just not quite sure. So Josh asked me to come in and just do a brief kind of synopsis of what I've been doing. Currently, I have about 20 classes going on right now, with anywhere from a dozen to hundreds of people coming in. It's all online. And then these virtual conferences. So I would say 90% of them are in education, mainly early childhood education, because that's my field of education. And then the other 10% are nonprofit groups. So they support, all kinds of folks, but they wanted to have either a fundraiser or they wanted to have a conference of some sort. So I'm willing to kind of show you guys what is in my bag of tricks, and then have a discussion with you as to what kind of dreaming or possibilities there might be on your end. Answer any questions that you might have. So let me just see. Can I present now? All right. Okay, so can you guys see the product section that I'm showing here?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. This is the back end. So I'm just going to show you all of the courses and classes I have going on right now. So you'll see this was like a personal development 12-week program. This is a membership group. So I actually have 70 leaders who are in a group. Every week they have a new video content that I give them. And then we do group coaching. So they just get on Zoom and we walk through that. Lots of different tools. Anything that I create that helps another client, this group, they're my preferred group. So they get all of my stuff. And then we've got some stuff, stress during trying times. Actually, that was the very first teacher training that got canceled. And so I thought, we probably still need that one. So there's a lot of like early childhood stuff, but then also things that just help business owners. So you'll see there's all kinds of stuff that we have going on. Some of them are only there for a hot minute and then they're closed. And these are the things that we just literally launched today. So this is another conference, but what I'm going to show you is what it would look like to do a week-long virtual conference. So this is what a user would see. That, you know, here's your title, here's your description, and then an overview of some of the courses. So this was a week-long conference that I did for an early childhood organization that, as a part of their grant, they have to provide a conference. This was, I think, 8 days in total. And we had several different speakers. So I was the keynote speaker originally intended for this conference anyway. So they said, Michelle, what can you do for us? And out of that initial discussion, we built this out. So here, you know, you got welcome, you've got a way to have all kinds of downloads for different tools. In the comment section, we had a lot of people just as we went through say, hey, this was really helpful. And then commenting back and forth. So for this particular conference, we actually had somebody come in, and because they're early childhood professionals, he did a whole series of videos on how to use puppets with children, especially helping them understand what a germ is, how to wash your hands, things like that. So I just tell you that because there's so much flexibility with a system like this, that if each one of you wanted to do your own session, you could. You just record it and throw it in there. Most of the videos in this particular conference were between 20 and 40 minutes long. And we typically posted one video, or I think the puppets were all in one day because they totaled a half an hour. So we really wanted it to be an experience where the teachers could access all the material, but they didn't feel overwhelmed. I'm not really a big fan of taking Zoom hostages, where you kind of show up in a format like this and then you spend hour upon hour upon hour, 8 hours a day just sitting at your computer. So this allowed our teachers to go through, and there were many that just watched this video for today, and then the next one was released the next day, and so on. However, life shows up sometimes, and so we gave them a couple days extra. If they didn't get all the videos in, they could catch up. So a lot of the feedback that we received was it was very individualized. They loved the opportunity to be a part of something with people, but to do it on their own time frame. So let's see, a couple other things. We also did live events. So for every single one of our conferences, we do a live Q&A. We find that that's a really helpful place just to have that contact with people as we go through. And of course, we record all of that and we, you know, can put it into the system. So it really is a very handy tool. We gave them all kinds of gifts, different tools, different resources as we went through. I think this group also ran their own outside Facebook group so that they could have interaction in there as well. So that is that. So I'm going to stop sharing right now and just ask you guys, you know, where are you at with your PD? What thoughts or questions might have popped up as I was showing you that?
Dave?
Michelle, I'm Dave Weeks, the web guy.
Hi, Dave. I've heard a lot about you.
I hope most of it's good.
All good, all good.
Is there, we already have a Moodle installation and whatnot. Have you had any experience using that as a platform, or is there a preferred one that you have had success with?
I prefer Kajabi. I find Kajabi is a lot easier to use than the other platforms that I've tried. I know this much about Moodle. So, but what I knew was I'm not a techie person at all. Kajabi was very easy for me to use, and I know that it can plug into all kinds of other platforms and things like that too. So that's my preferred one.
Sure. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
What happens, say, if we have people that present and we record that, what happens to that information, presentation, testing, all that stuff after the conference?
What do you want to happen to it?
That's what I was questioning earlier. Like, I don't think you were with us at that point. But basically, how does that look if we offer say a 2-day long virtual or a week-long virtual conference, and we also offer PD listed on our website? How does that look? How does that arrange? What is the benefit of going to the 2-day or week-long live session versus just clicking on to the stuff off to the side that's pre-recorded? I guess I'm just trying to wrap my mind around what that looks like and how that looks in mites.
Yeah, so some of the people that I've chosen to work with in the past, there's one organization that they have one of their conferences that it was live for the first week, and now they determined that they wanted to keep it open. So now they still have people coming in, they just know that they don't get the live Q&A during that time. So you can definitely keep things open. I'm finishing up one virtual summit tomorrow with our last live, and then they're giving their people 5 days to finish everything, and they're closing it forever. Okay. So all of their stuff, I'm just going to give back to them, say, do with it whatever you want. You can put it on your website if you want. So honestly, the sky is the limit here. If you wanted to host, let's say, whatever you want to call it, I'll just call it a summit for lack of a better term. If you wanted to do it for a couple days or a week, however you wanted to do that, and then you wanted to close that as an event, and then maybe give all of your videos over onto your website, you could do that as well. Honestly, the sky really is the limit. It's only as far as you can be creative. We can do it.
So when we do a virtual conference, how does that work with speeches? And then if we transfer that into a library of previous things, how can we get speech? Is it possible to get speeches for that, even though it's not live or current, I guess, but yeah.
Yeah, so all of the education organizations I work with also have to have sketches. So they go through and they just apply for the sketches. So obviously that has to happen before your event. You would have to have the outlines, all the information you would need for sketches from each one of your presenters. So you would have that ahead of time, just like you would for a normal conference. And then whoever's in charge of that, we track attendance, and some people have a requirement that they want to see some homework, like some checking in just to make sure that you watch the videos. A couple of the other people said, don't worry about it. We're just going to treat it like a conference. We wouldn't ask for homework if they were here. Totally up to you. And then after the event, whoever's in charge of the sketches would have to be the one to go in and say, yes, these people were here.
Okay. Next question is, when we look at organizing this, how do we go about organize? Is this something that you would organize the people? Would we have to put somebody forth to say, organize this, or like get the people or the places we want to do these different sessions?
Yeah, so the recruiting of the people who would actually do the presenting, I'm going to leave that to you guys, because that way more than I do. If you choose to use, so one of the things that's really beneficial is that there are other organizations I'm actually working on getting them involved in Kajabi, because I think long term it makes more sense for them to use a system like that, because it is so easy, and they're going to do this more in the future. However, there are other organizations that are like, Michelle, we're just checking the box. We just need to get this one done for our funder, and then we have no idea what we're going to do. So for them, they're like, we will just use your system. I'm fine with that too. We have right now the capacity to have 10,000 more people in the system. So I don't think you guys are going to get 10,000, are you? Probably not. Shoot for the moon, maybe. So, if you wanted to host something with me on my Kajabi site to start with, and then kind of play around with, okay, how did this work for you? And is there another way that you could do it? There's that possibility as well.
Okay. So you're more of the, I'm gonna put this together, I'm a host, but we're still on the end of, we need to get everything lined up so that you can post it and make magic happen on the computer.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Now, the only other question would be for my end would be between you and Dave would be, if you're working on Kajabi, he's working with Moodle, how's that gonna look when because I would assume that as an organization, if we're gonna do this, we would like it to be open to our members afterwards. How are we gonna make those mesh together so that we can still offer at least the videos for our members who are not able to attend or forget or something?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and I think that would be a Dave and I thing, like, okay, how can we make sure that this is integrated too? And then, so there's a couple things I see in my head. Right now, there's what do you do now for a conference? And then there's what are we going to do afterwards to keep people engaged? And then there's an even bigger question, and this is a question that's been thrown around in MITES for many years. How do we become the organization in industrial arts that is known for professional development? And so that is really looking ahead and saying, okay, how is your current system being used? How could it be used? Do you need that system or something else? And if so, what? And that's really an area of my expertise. So that Dave and I could work on that for sure. But I personally, honestly, knowing you guys, I would love for you to have this online platform that people know I can go here and I can get good stuff. Everything from your vendors who love to do those demonstration videos, right, to teachers on, okay, how do you do classroom management, good lesson plans, all of that kind of stuff. And then some. Maybe you have a keynote speaker that comes or you would like to have come at your conference, record them, have that in a system that people can access. And then there's different levels of access. So for example, you could have all of your free material. You could also have a paid kind of level. So, here's some information above and beyond that. There's all kinds of different business models that you guys could work out that we could definitely talk about in the future. And one thing I didn't even share is that I invested in what's called Searchy, and Searchy is a way to have an individual search engine. So all of my content, right now we have over 400 hours of content. It has all been uploaded into Searchy. So if there's a course, if there's a class, if there's a conference, we have over 400 episodes on the podcast now. All of that goes into my search engine. And depending on who you are, so for example, I just told you about my Empowered Leaders membership group. They're my preferred members. They get access to everything. There's this little widget that has all of those folders in it. And then if you're just in a class or a course, maybe you'll get the podcast in that class. So you can, determine what kind of level of access people have. And you go into the search engine, you type in some keywords, and it automatically tells you, here are all the videos and audios that have those keywords in them. And not only, hey, go listen to this podcast from November 2nd, but it says, here it is, all queued up and ready for you. Instant access to materials, and it immediately gives you a transcript. So if you have a speaker who's talking about how do you implement something in the classroom, let's say you have a teacher talking about some CAD stuff, and they go into the Searchy option and they put in CAD, and all of this comes up, and now they grab the transcript and they're like, oh, yes. And it's literally instant. So if you guys decide to use my system, we can also include that as well. So you can see how that might work before you kind of decide to invest in that yourself.
Okay. When we look at this option and opportunity, what kind of a cost are we looking at, and what kind of a timeline do you need from us to make sure that we can get it done?
Yeah, so cost is really going to depend on what you want. And that's really where we need to come up with a plan. Like, is this going to be a 2-day thing, a two-week thing? Do you want it to be longer? So we can play around with that for sure. All I would need is at least 10 days before the event that you want to open, I would need to have all of the videos. And then titles and descriptions, things like that. So really on my end, it can go pretty quick. Yeah.
What if we wanted to do like more of a live demonstration? Like I picture We have a representative from Lincoln that wants to present on their Ulink system, but he wants to do it live. He doesn't want to record a video. He wants to be able to do it live with just like this. But
sure.
How does that? How much of a lead time do you need for something like that?
So you would have to know, okay, this is when it's going to be on the schedule. I wouldn't need it at all, other than if you're going to include it, let's say in a conference style. One of the things that we do like to do, we found a lot of help for the participants, is having a workbook where they know, here's the schedule, here's any links for Zoom or Google Meet, that kind of thing. But also here's a place to keep track of all of your notes. So if you're going to do it as a set conference, we would want to know on what day are you going to do the live, where, when. You guys would show up and do it and record it and send me the recording. And as soon as I get the recording, I can put it right up.
Okay.
Because you guys know life doesn't always cooperate. And so you can intend to be there in person, live, and then something happens. So.
Okay. All right. So do we have any other questions for Michelle about any of this?
No, I don't.
Okay. So moving forward with talking about this as an opportunity, how do we want to progress this as a conversation with Mike's? Because obviously this is a great opportunity. This also goes with what we've been talking about offering a PD session during the summer or during fall. And that also goes with what Dave's been trying to work on with our library, PD opportunities, plus what we talk about in our convention. How do we move forward and getting all these different positions and points in a line like the solar system?
Can we potentially schedule a special, I don't know whether it's board meeting, e-board meeting, just to kind of, if we need to talk to Michelle about some like deeper questions, maybe in the next 2 weeks, so that we can make decisions and maybe do any voting that we need to by, let's see, so August meeting, I think is our next one.
October.
So, all right. So let's plan on having an executive board meeting. Dave, why don't you and I get together? You're going to call me this week, aren't you?
Yes.
Yeah. You had some other stuff you wanted to ask me about and talk to me about, I think.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So yeah, why don't we talk about that? Let's get and you and I will talk and send out a meeting or send out an agenda to the rest of our executive board, and we'll get a Zoom meeting or Google Meet meeting for that going, where we can talk about that, talk about the opportunity. I think we want general consensus among our executive board and our membership, but to be honest with you, Dave, this kind of has a lot more to do with you than any of us, because you're the one that's got to be the web guy and, work all this magic stuff out along with Michelle. So do we want to, let's have an executive board meeting to discuss that as an opportunity. Sound good?
Just so that the board knows, everything Michelle has said is very doable. Even if we decide to use a different platform, all of this stuff is really doable. And I think she's leading us in the right direction.
Yeah.
And I will tell you this, that I didn't even mention this, but so all of these education organizations I work with have very high demand for accountability built into their systems, obviously. And so they have a lot of surveys and things like that. And the data that has shown up all across the board for all, well, I'll say 7 because I'm finishing the 8th one tomorrow, but the 7 different summits that we've done, 97% 5-star out of 5 rating for the conference, and the other 3% were 4 out of 5-star. We had in total, out of all of those 7 summits, maybe 8 people who had a hard time logging in. But quite frankly, I think they had a hard time just sending an email too. So we still got them in, so it is very user friendly. Once they got in, they're like, okay, this is good. So I think the format, and again, you can design it any way you want. I think the format is very user friendly, and like I said, individualistic, because not everybody in your organization has the same lifestyle and the same needs. We kind of have treated some of these as like a buffet option. So here we're going to provide you a lot of things. You plug into, what works for you. I think the biggest thing that I found in this whole thing is it takes the longest to get the sketches applied for.
Right.
Everything else is easy. But whoever, is there one person in your organization who applies for sketches?
No, we don't have anybody that applies for sketches.
Not yet.
Not yet.
It might be time. So that might be something we need to discuss at the next meeting, is who's going to be that point person. Maybe I can help you at least, walk you through a couple things I've learned as I've applied for them myself. But then if I need to connect you with other people that can help you with that, I can do that too.
Josh, there's your calling. Yeah.
Josh will not be your person for that job, FYI. Josh is amazing at what he does. I need somebody who's really good at paperwork, okay?
Hey, you found your niche.
That's right.
I don't know many. That's the problem. Shop teacher's good at paperwork. That's the problem. I get to it later.
But we are looking for an education chairperson that would be able to do that kind of work.
Maybe that would be a good thing to add into that.
Right.
And again, it is also a nice, right there. I like it.
Yeah.
PLCs. So, all right. So we're gonna set up a Google Meet for the executive board to further discuss this in a couple weeks.
And Michelle, can you send, if you want to be part of that, so that you can answer any questions for those that aren't here? I just put in the chat Chuck's email, so you could send him your availability, so he can kind of try to coordinate your schedule with this meeting, so we can pick a good time.
Yeah.
I know it's pretty busy coming up here, but
It all depends on the date, but sure,
right.
yeah.
So in the chat here, I've put his email address. So if you could just
All right, I got it now.
availability.
Thanks, Josh.
Okay, no problem. Thank you. All right. Do we have anything else underneath new business? Anything anybody want to talk about? Dennis?
Yeah.
Lay it on us, Dennis.
I wanna talk about our voting procedure.
Okay.
Our vote during the Constitution and for president-elect, and the difficulties that we had. I appreciate the postponement of the vote on the Constitution. I didn't know you did that. I don't know if it was posted anywhere, but I didn't know you did that. I'm glad to hear it. That gives people an opportunity to look things over and make some comments. I'm curious if we're open to amending what we proposed before the next vote comes in.
I don't think we're opposed to it. I mean, no, we're not opposed to it, because obviously as an organization, we can't be too set in our ways. We have to be able to be flexible in movement. On the same thing, I am going to say that almost everybody in this meeting right now was part of that conversation. So I would be curious as to what that would look like as far as amending and changing.
Hard to tell, but more often you read stuff, the more wonderful ideas come forth.
Correct.
And I'm envisioning there probably won't be very many, if any. Easy access is really important. When the Constitution was put onto the website, on that upper right-hand side, I logged on and searched and searched and searched. I didn't hover over it. I looked for a link that said, click here for, and so I went away and came back the next day. No link. I went away a third day and said, hey, where is it? And finally, Dave told me that all you got to do is hover over top. Okay, I'm a novice at this. I've only been running a computer for about 35 years. I was with us when we established on computer registration with the Apple IIc, and it was wonderful, but it was a crap load of work. But anyway, I think it's gotta be, I heard the term earlier, user friendly. And, you know, I know I wasn't the only one that struggled finding that. I know I wasn't the only one that wasn't able to vote until after I got a hold of Dave and said, hey, Dave, what's the deal? Life members had trouble voting. I heard from at least 7 people that had trouble voting, and I forwarded their name to Dave, and he fixed many of them. But I also know several of them gave up after they couldn't vote the first time. Our procedure initially was you got a paper ballot and voted. Somewhere in the last 10 years, we decided to amend our method by voting online through the secretary. And then this time we did it online through the website with a login, which we struggled with. My recommendation is we go back to the secretary through the membership person, sending a ballot to each person, and they return it, unless we can guarantee everybody gets the chance to vote.
I think that one of the reasons why we tried doing that through the website was so that we could still try and have a vote without a convention. So it was more of a how can we try and make all this work and still cover what we have in our Constitution so we're not breaking it. And that's honestly, Dennis, that's the exact reason why we, as an executive board, made the decision to not take in the Constitution, because we didn't have enough votes to really.
Well, and I appreciate you seeing that. I noticed that as well, and I figured, okay, the trend was it was going to pass no matter what.
Yeah.
But the real fault was we all didn't get a say.
Yeah.
And that was the problem. So part of what we've always done all along is make sure that everybody that wants to gets a say. And with that say, also the responsibility of let's step up and help each other out. So round 2.
Yep. Okay. And I for one, I did like it when you would send out a ballot in our email, and then we just vote right there.
I've been doing this now on the way here. I was like, man,
How long?
it's been like 6 years.
Is that all?
Yeah.
Oh, you get 15 more.
Yeah. But have the best, and it's not great, but the best turnout through the Survey Monkeys, because we've tried the Google Forms. That tanked. The website was even worse. And
Survey Monkey,
Survey Monkey is awesome.
You know, and we all, you know, this is a most unique year. We're all doing the best we can.
Yeah, but even the email with the Google Forms, we didn't get the turnout that I got through the Survey Monkey.
And I could totally see where that, because in our maintenance stuff and our technology, we go to the website, we click on it, that sends us a link, and then we have to do a link back. And obviously that's my situation, but the less steps it takes to do something, the easier it's going to be for all
And
our
I think
members to
that's
do
why, I think one extra step for a lot of them is too much.
Yeah. Sounds simple, but
It
I
has to
agree.
be the easiest way.
I absolutely agree. This, what pulled to mind as I was thinking about what I wanted to say today was, you know, in years past, when we were inviting people to meetings, we used to give them a map. Well, now it's a lot easier. You link the map right to the email that says, here's where you go. But in between, we had you have to go online into Google Maps and find the map yourself. It's like, what? Why make it harder? You know, I'm already investing 6 hours in travel. We're evolving constantly.
Yeah.
And I appreciate the efforts you're putting in. Believe me, I appreciate it a lot.
Dave had a comment. It's the
Yeah.
administration.
Yeah, Dave's got a comment.
Dave, we love you.
I'm sorry. This is one area where I have a high level of frustration. We are sending out emails, and frankly, people aren't checking them. They are checking them at the last minute. We're asking, like, for this meeting, I asked for 48-hour notification. I got 10 requests at, I think, 8 o'clock this morning that I simply couldn't fulfill because people were getting to me so late. I think I hate to throw this back on our membership, but I think there's some cultural shift that needs to happen. If that means I have to help train people, I'm willing to do that. But you know, there's some consistent like technological things I think we need to move forward with. So I'm just gonna put that's my 2 cents.
Let's say we need to bring everyone forward. Because, you know, you're gonna fight with folks 10 years from now, same
Right.
thing.
Yeah.
Haven't figured it out yet.
But I think,
But you know, the alternative is we let it go, and we can't do that.
and that Yasmin was right. The Survey Monkey vote is so much easier. It doesn't matter what you're on, what your email is. You don't have to have Google. You can have, you know, Outlook. And you can vote with Survey
that's
Monkey.
why
That's the thing. That's where I feel the Survey Monkey was. Yeah, and we need to pay probably because Yasmin would have to send them out in blocks. Well,
Right.
we need to pay for the Survey Monkey so
Right.
we can send all 300 of them out at one time in the email.
And is there,
We can send it out in mass.
right.
Yeah, but and that's the frustration I always had with now that our school is Google, but you would get something, you know, different people. And when the minute they got to start making more steps, people get frustrated. So keep it. Yeah, we have to keep things simple.
Well, and I think too, having, like Dennis was saying, you know, you almost give up at a certain point.
Yeah.
There has to be a clear delineation here of if you're having difficulty with this, here's where you go. You go to this person. You know, this is the one point of contact. So, you know, in these situations, like, you know, I'm contacting Pete saying, hey, we still have a meeting. I'm not getting, you know, email, where people are contacting Dave. Hey, I didn't get an email, you know? So in these situations, like, I can't vote. It's not working. Who do I go to? I don't know where the meeting is. Who do I go to? I can't find it on the website. Who do I go to? You know, and like Dave's saying, this is a cultural shift because we're still dealing with people that don't know how to turn a computer on, sad to say, but we do. And how do we help them become the member engaged that we want them to be? So it really comes down to how do we all work together to figure out where's the problems in this and how do we go forward from there?
I agree with Josh.
Yep. I printed off some of the emails I got from different people just to confirm that I'm thinking appropriately. And just so you know, Dave, in his announcement about voting for president, we had to postpone that a week so that it was flowing properly. Mm-hmm. But, you know, he did note to people that you had, you know, if you're having problems, get a hold of Dave at his email. So the thing is there, but the thing is you gotta pick that out of it.
Right. You gotta find
we all have that responsibility. Right. I've always been an advocate of making it as easy as possible to bring people along. When we, you know, somewhere in the late 90s, when we started moving our meetings away from Michigan State University and traveling around to different schools throughout the state, I sent postcards to members in those regions. I kept track. We got 2 new members out of that showing up at meetings. I sent hundreds of postcards. You know?
Right.
But what's the alternative? You know?
Right.
We got 2 more than we had. So as much work as it is, I think you work really hard to bring people along and do it again and do it again. And as big a pain in the neck as it is, do it again. Anyway, thanks for listening.
Well, and this is too, goes back to the idea that you have to hit people everywhere they're at. You can't just hit them at one way. So like an email is a one way, but if you miss the email, you don't know what you don't know. So the idea of the old paper newsletter, even if it's just a double-sided sheet, these are all the things coming up. We're voting, you know, next month on president. Here's how you get to the link. These are the people you talk to. Here's your board. Here's your, you know, you're going to hit those people that are going to miss those things. And so I'm not necessarily advocating we print a bunch and mail it, but I'm saying that's another avenue we can use to make sure that people are getting the notice that there is an upcoming, you know. So for example, the other day I had to figure out a date and a time, and it was last minute. Well, instead of trying to drill through a website that I know it's like 5 layers down, I know I got a mailing in the mail on that. And I went over and I found it in my pile of mail that I was keeping. And I dug it out and there it was within 5 seconds, I had what I needed versus spending a half an hour that I didn't have to get prepped for that. So that might be something too that we consider, you know, every quarter, just sending out a mailing of these are the upcoming meeting dates and times. These are the upcoming events we're going to be doing, you know, these are the upcoming votes we're going to have. These are the issues on the table we're trying to, you know, resolve. And I know this year was really goofy because we were all at the last minute trying, how do we fix this problem? You know, we didn't have the time. We didn't know what was going on. We were all shut down. We were all quarantined. But now going forward, can we do that? Hit people on more than just, you know, one area, like an email in multiple points of contact.
Well, Josh, we are set up to do a monthly announcement blast, I guess, or newsletter. We have never actually used it because other than general, like specific announcements, we don't have any of that information organized enough to be able to put it together. And I mean, at least from my point of view, and I think maybe Pete's, that's one more thing he and I would probably have to do. If I don't know whose responsibility that was, but I can definitely send it out, but I don't have any more room on my plate to prep it.
Yeah. And I like going off the blast, but I like Josh's idea of just sending that paper two-sided out with just the highlights. Just this is what I almost feel that maybe we need to go back in time and actually put something in the mail because people do. I had people go, "Oh, I didn't get that email," and I text them. I go, "Well, it was sent around September 4 about today's meeting." I see it now. They looked at it, but they didn't. Yeah, you know what I mean? So I almost feel like if they get that little piece of paper in the mail, a postcard, even a postcard, because postage is a little bit.
We'll put all of the dates on.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And just
link to, you know.
Check.
Why not hit both ways? But either way, that still needs to get organized.
Right. Dave's right. Either way, we've got to get organized to figure out how to go forward with that. And I'm all about paying a little bit more to have somebody else, you know, print them, stuff them, and mail them versus one of the members, you know, having to print stuff and mail.
Yeah.
Because again, like Dave said, we don't have that much time to add to it.
You know, Rick's got the contact with the printer, and they can do a mass.
But there's even online places we can utilize that it's just, you know, here's a fee per page or whatever. And it's usually nominal after a certain point, like Rick always said, after a certain amount of prints, the additional is just really not inconsequential. So if we send 150 or 300 of them, if we send 350, it's not that much more.
Right.
But like Dave said, we just got to get that organized. So Dave, I guess that would be a conversation with us. What is it that we need to get organized and how can we help do that so that we can make sure that happens?
I mean, I can send it whenever. I think having it on a regular cycle would be a really good thing. So like a monthly newsletter.
Right.
And say it has to come to me by XYZ date, or I just kind of put together what I can. But I don't know who takes that responsibility on for putting that like sheet or half sheet or whatever together.
So we really need to figure out who's in charge and then also how we're going to distribute it.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of this comes back to, as we've discussed a couple of times now at various meetings, is duties and responsibilities. A lot of this stuff is changing. And people don't necessarily have clear directions on whose responsibilities are what. I think as an organization, if we're going to have significant success, I think that's a big thing we, like probably as an e-board, need to start tackling, and the sooner we can do that, the better.
I actually have that on my agenda for our executive board meeting to look at duties, responsibilities, and things like that.
Cool.
Okay. Do we have any other discussion? Go on. Jim, you still there? You alive? Click it off once or twice if you're still alive.
Was he lifting weight?
No, that was
Dean
Lander. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I was talking about Jim Swanson.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, move to adjourn.
So if we have no other discussion, I move to adjourn.
Second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Majority wins. We are done.
We're adjourned.
That's the best Zoom meeting I've ever attended.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks for joining us.
Thank